If, 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 why is it that? How,
Meet potential game!
If. That's the story. That is the word that can describe Sonic 06, folks. If. Welcome to the Sonic Talk Show. This has been an episode that has been long in the making because we had to do it right, because this is the game that was a turning point for Sega, and it is something that truly haunts them even to this day. Now look, those that have been with us since the beginning, our roots come from the Archie comics, right? You know this very well. And we can talk all day and all night about how those comics have been deeply rooted into the DNA of this game series, whether Sega likes it or not. However, there is sort of this, what can we call it? What we can say? We can say there's like a divide, right? With Archie Comics, there wasn't that much, oversight by Sega, despite some people's demurge. I don't know if that even was a word. Regardless, Archie is just sort of like an aside as far as Sega is concerned. It's just like, I don't know what's going on over there. Don't look at us. We're making the real stuff over here. We're making video game. And boy, oh boy, did they make a video game in the good old 2006. So, what am I trying to say here? Sonic 06 is a video game on Sega's part that they can look back at and just be like, oh god, oh Jesus Christ, oh man. In a just world, Sega would use Sonic 06 as their excuse to say, look, we messed up here really bad. And I'm not talking about the devs at that point. I'm talking about the higher-ups, the, board of directors, the upper high echelon managers at Sega to say, Jesus Christ, this is the worst that our meddling has resulted in, was this game, and it nearly did kill the franchise. Let's be honest with ourselves here. The fact that Sonic was able to survive this is a miracle, and we are going to talk about this near the end. Trust me, this is going to be, all this is just going to be me setting the stage right now. The fact that Sega does not understand that their meddling not only can result in this, but resulted in many other missteps is mind-boggling, to put it lightly. Iizuka understands, because he was, he comes from game development. He knows what that's like, so perhaps now in the position that he's in, he's better able to protect the game devs from the executive meddling, right? And that's the best case scenario. But Sonic 06 is sort of that meddling at its worst. And we are going to see that painstakingly close. We are going to a fine-tooth comb, deep dive into this game. Because we, as a community, have been doing a great disservice to ourselves with the modern Sonic cycle, dare I call it. New game comes out. We all like it. Then we revision ourselves to say the previous game was bad. Then the cycle shifts to say that this modern, or like this much older game was actually good, that we had all decided we didn't like actually. A couple of years ago, that cycle turned and came back around to Sonic 06. And that is where a lot of people, including myself, drew the line. No, Sonic 06 is fundamentally not a good video game. It's not a good Sonic game. It is not a good video game. It is a bad gameplay experience from top to bottom. I am sorry to say this. Could it be revised? Could it be better? Could it have been if? If. Yes. Only if. But we can't talk ourselves out of it. We cannot do that to ourselves. We deserve better. We need to understand better. We cannot act like this. Alright? We are putting a stop to this now. And we're going to do that with Sonic 06.
Welcome, everyone, to the long discussion around the game that nearly killed Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog, 2006, asterisk. There's a lot to say. too much to say about this game. Alberto did a great job opening this, by the way. Thank you. This is a monologue that even I would be like, yes, I'm very proud of you for the way you extrapolated on yourself, and I'm proud of you with how you did that. So you did a great job there, buddy. Thank you. So let's set the stage, because I feel like people need to understand that I did not play games when it came to this. We're going to be talking a lot about the revisionism, but we're going to be talking about the game itself. I've beaten this game twice already. Once when I was 13, a young, fresh-faced boy who had just gotten access to his first laptop, learned what YouTube was, and started watching Hellfire Comms, started watching a playthrough of Sonic 06 that is very famous, especially for me and Alberto. We've both watched it many times. We are very well aware of that playthrough, including many, many bits from it. A few probably will be making their appearance. There's a couple that definitely gave me a quick smile while I was replaying, which I'll talk about in a second. But and I played this around the age of 17, just for a second look. But it has been over a decade since I've played it. And I had to remind myself, and I had to refamiliarize myself with why this game is ass. So I played it start to finish on real hardware, a real Xbox 360 that is sitting right behind one of my monitors right now. I hacked my Xbox 360 to do it, so I didn't have to pay for the game. So I played it, start to finish, raw, no mods, all loading screens. Yeah, this game's really bad. And no amount of revisionism will ever save it from what it actually is. And that's going to be a large discussion point as we talk about it today. I want you to understand that whatever I talk about here is coming from somebody who literally finished the game last night, who has immense experience with Sonic games, and who has a pretty decent understanding of game design. I'm not amazing. I'm not a professional game developer, but I have an understanding of what works in game design and what doesn't after playing so many games over so many years, at least for me personally. Everyone has their own subjective taste, so on and so forth, but I have a good idea of what works in Sonic. I've been playing these games long enough. There is so much here that just doesn't fucking work, and it's exhausting, and it's so tiring. This is a very long story, though, and it does not begin after Shadow the Hedgehog. This actually begins before Shadow the Hedgehog. Look, let's set the stage for a second, okay? Heroes was not a game that was super well received by the community at the time. It was decently liked, but people had some issues with the structure. Where's the story? Where's the more in-depth writing? Where's the character moments? And then Shadow the Hedgehog came out, and while it was received mildly, for the most part, there was a lot of joking about how edgy and over the top it was, and people made fun of it, while, people online made really epic fan AMVs to Nightcore songs and Linkin Park with Shadow the Hedgehog. But, that's not really the reason that this game exists. Let's start in the magical year of 2004. So, Sega kind of felt that Sonic had sort of been veering off the fucking rails. In terms of that, they mean gameplay. Sonic Heroes had a very, I wouldn't say weird, but different gameplay system. And Shadow the Hedgehog had firearms, which, So their idea was, well, what if we brought Sonic back to his roots? They wanted to ask another question alongside this. Guys, what if Sonic was real? Dude, hyper-realistic blood and everything, No, but they did actually have this idea of what if Sonic was in the real world, actually. So they decided that to commemorate the game's 15th anniversary, the original Sonic the Hedgehog and the franchise as a whole, they would go ahead and make a game that was simply titled Sonic the Hedgehog. There's been speculation around this for a long time. This was meant to be a soft reboot of the series, and in a lot of ways, it almost feels like it, but it also contradicts itself almost nonstop in that regard, because there's certain story elements that are not lining up with that. Shiro Meikawa's favorite son, we'll talk about you soon, don't worry.
However, folks, I want you all to sort of take a stop and understand something here. What we have just told you with bring Sonic back to his roots, what if Sonic existed in the real world, and to celebrate the 15th anniversary, simply tell Sonic the Hedgehog, none of that's true.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
It's a lie. It's all fucking barefaced lie.
We made it up. It's a lie. Why was it a lie? It's because this was the cover story for how Sonic 06 was turning out, and knowing full well how development was going behind the scenes while also working around Sega's pressure and rushing. We're going to say rushing lightly. That's a very nice term to describe slave labor, because that's essentially what the development team went through. Yes, dear listener, take our hands and listen to what we have to say with an open mind. And this should come as no surprise to some of you. 06 was meant to be Adventure 3, in all but name. Look, before we even get into that, we've talked about this on prior Sonic Talk shows. Heroes was meant to be Adventure 3. Shadow the Hedgehog was meant to be Adventure 3. Those games did not end up being Adventure 3. This game is Adventure 3, in all but name. Really think about it.
When you look at the scope, the scale, and especially what was left on the cutting room floor, that kind of is what leads us to this conclusion. Another point, what we see right in front of us as well, this game actually does blend together elements of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, by which I mean the adventure and action stages, introducing a new hedgehog, much like in Sonic Adventure 2. The idea very clearly was, until a very specific point in development, this was going to be Sonic Adventure 3. However, in my opinion, once the pressures came from the higher up within Sega's upper management to release this new game for the newest generations of consoles in time for the holiday season, they knew this game could not live up to the title of Sonic Adventure 3. So listen, if you're just a casual fan and you just stumbled across this hours-long video and you decided to give us a listen, I really want you to stress something here. Throughout gaming, throughout the franchises of many histories that have existed since the beginning of video games as an industry, as legacies are built, there are certain titles that carry a weight. The only game I could similarly think of that has a weight to it like Sonic Adventure 3 could is Kingdom Hearts 3. And if you're a fan of that series, I think you can kind of understand what I mean when I say that titles have a weight.
Oh, man. Yeah, I can't wait for Sonic Adventure 3 with Let It Go from Frozen.
Look, I don't blame Nomura for that, I'll be honest.
He's stuck in the eternal Final Fantasy Versus 13 needs to come out prison. It's called Kingdom Hearts 4, guys. That's Final Fantasy Versus 13. Those who know. Anyways, the weight of the title Sonic Adventure 3 is a separate discussion on its own, but briefly we can talk about it. To be perfectly honest, we have often talked about on pre-shows and prior discussions about how Sonic Adventure 3, if it ever does happen, has to basically be a game that can carry the weight of the entire franchise. I don't think you realize what would happen if Sonic Adventure 3 was a bad game. Hey, maybe that's why they didn't end up calling this game Sonic Adventure 3. Because if it was called Sonic Adventure 3, I don't think this podcast would exist. I don't think Sonic the Hedgehog would exist. And more importantly, I kind of think that the franchise would have died a slow, painful death around, say, 2017. Ironic, what game released that year? We'll get to it when we get to it.
I think it's kind of funny you bring that up because at that point, the only relevant vestiges in that timeline of the Sonic series, ironically, would be the Archie comics.
Yo, man, I'm sorry, bro. You listen, man. I can't. The world where Archie goes on to issue 350, 400 ends in 2020, right when the pandemic hits. I don't want to talk about the potential world that we live in where that happens.
We probably could have gotten the Sonic Mega Man 3 crossover.
Okay, you know what? We're not talking about it anymore. The copium's over. Let's talk about this game. We have to. Lock in.
So, Sonic the Hedgehog would start its teasing around E3 2005 with a full reveal at Tokyo Game Show 2005, also announcing the game's title and the reveal that this game would be the celebratory game for the series' 15th anniversary. Later, the game's director Shun Nakamura demonstrated the game running under a new engine, the Havoc Physics engine, primarily showcasing its ability for destructible environments and debris. Which, hey, look, at the time, was cutting-edge technology. Let's be honest.
Yes. Havoc was used in so many 7th gen games. It is absolutely unreal. despite all the shit that people give the 7th gen, that physics engine did so much for that generation, for better or worse. And it does have a lasting legacy on the games industry as a whole, although it is a lot more understated than people give it credit for. It's a pretty damn good engine, all things considered. For destructible environments, for the time, it was pretty groundbreaking. And that's something that I don't think you can ever take away from it.
Yeah, this sort of was much like the 6th generation was known for renderware. Yeah, the Havoc engine was known for the 7th gen. It's very interesting if you ever want to look at the history of game development from like the development side. But with that being said, though, that was kind of an aside, Shun Nakamura, he still works at Sega to this day, and his most recent credit is the producer for Sonic X Shadow Generations. Now, I bring this up here because it is very important to stress that if you play through Shadow Generations, and particularly go through the collectibles, most of the collectibles come from Sonic 06.
Yeah, I feel like in Shun's heart of hearts, he wanted this game to be good more than anyone. But due to circumstances that we will begin to start to unpack and unravel, that was not meant to be. We'll also talk a little bit about Shun and Izuka's thoughts on remakes towards the end of this episode. And I'm going to make a mental note of that because I do feel like it is very appropriate to talk about considering some of their recent stances. But yes, let's continue. It's important that we continue.
It was also announced that the game would be coming to PC along with the next generation of consoles, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the Nintendo Wii.
Oh. You know what's really funny? Really funny? There's a longer discussion to be had about the implications of announcing this for the Nintendo Wii and the game that came from that, and how it's arguably potentially a worse video game than this in some aspects. But we'll get to that when we get to the episode about said game. But let's continue, please.
However, development trouble would begin to show right after the reveal, as the executive producer of the game, Yuji Naka, would resign and leave the project rudderless. This is where the crab dancing music would go if it were not in copyright hell.
Yes. So, Naka, he finally left Sonic Team. Why? It's because he wanted to make his own video games at his own company called Probe. Not a lot came of that. There were a couple games. Not a lot, but
yeah, the legacy of Yuji Naka. You know what? Maybe we should do a bonus episode of the show for Patreon about the legacy of Yuji Naka. Maybe that's something we'll have to write down.
Us making a legacy of Yuji Naka video. The first 10 minutes are just like the most positive, glowing, like revisionist history, and then we're like, all right, guys, let's cut the crap. We're just doing this for the bit. Let's talk about how Naka was a shithead who didn't fucking care about anyone but himself.
Yeah, and went so far as to commit fucking insider trading accidentally.
Oh, accidentally, by the way. Accidentally. That's fucking crazy. Anyways, yeah.
So, after the team, though, got Wii development kits, it was decided to split the teams in half. One team focusing on 360 and PS3 development, and the other half on the Wii. However, it would be made very clear, very fast, that the Wii was not capable of running Sonic 06. And therefore, they decided to make a new original game for the Wii, Sonic and the Secret Rings, directed by Yojiro Ogawa, who at the time was the head of Sonic Team. I need to point that out.
Well, now you can kind of see how Sega basically said, Sonic Team, figure it the fuck out. Oh, and also, we have an exclusivity deal with Microsoft. Game has to be out by the 2006 holiday season, November specifically, just in time for Christmas, to make sure that we have the best possible sales opportunity on this brand new console. AKA, they had to make a video game working with half the intended staff for the project to be released on 2 platforms, canceling the PC release entirely, and in the process, Sega would disregard entire notes from every single quality assurance member on that team left behind during playtesting, having no time to investigate, implement anything. AKA, the game was not even remotely playable or finished in any way, shape, and form.
So in February of 2007, Ogawa was asked in an interview why he thought 06 resulted in the state that he did. And I'm just going to read you his reply in full. The reason why we probably ended up with what we see today involves a lot of reasons. One is that we had to launch the title around Christmas and we had the PS3 launch coming up, but we had to develop for the Microsoft 360 at the same time, and the team had an awful lot of pressure on them. It was very hard for the team to try and see how we were going to come out with both versions together with just the one team. It was a big challenge. Now, what Ogawa said here is the nice version of what the problem was. I'm going to tell you the more honest translation of what he's trying to say. The Sega executives fucked us over big time, dog.
For those that don't know, Japanese politeness about the way that you communicate about things is a very real thing, and Japanese developers and producers are often very, business coded because they have to maintain a specific, I don't know, how do I want to say this? They have to maintain a specific, cadence when they talk, because it's considered very disrespectful in Japan if you don't. Unlike us Americans who just say whatever the fuck we want, for better or worse. I am the representative of the Americans. Hello, yes, I'm the yapper. But yeah, basically, he said, like Alberto said, the Sega executives completely fucked us. They put us in the worst possible position possible. They told us to rush a video game out, and they irreparably damaged our brand and ruined our development team.
Yeah, we are, it's getting a little ahead of ourselves, but the vast majority of the people who worked on this game no longer work at Sega.
It makes sense why. It completely makes sense why. Why? We'll save it. But let's keep going.
In 2018, one of the game's writers, Shiro Meikawa, along with Kyoko Yoshimura, or to say, she wrote the vast majority of episodes for the Sonic X anime project. Just had to throw that in there. But Meikawa would also share his thoughts on the game's writing process. He viewed the game as pretty complex to write that once done, felt like a finished puzzle. While the game was in production, Nakamura told Meikawa to write a story, and I quote, similar to Sonic Adventure 2. I wonder why they would want to have a story similar to Sonic Adventure 2 in a game that's not called Sonic Adventure 3. Many questions.
Curious.
While Meikawa was in charge of writing the vast scope of the story, such as key composition and key dialogue, more minor parts would be left to Yoshimura. That's exactly what he said. Now look, listen, we're going to talk about it more once we talk about the game's story, but it's very clear that Meikawa showed some favoritism when he wrote this game. And he has a certain favorite... Listen, I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to say names. But I'm sure Shiro, I love Shadow more than my own family, Meikawa, may play some favorites here. That's an actual quote, by the way. He actually said that. Look it up.
Dude, I just looked up the thing he was talking about. That's true. That's 100%. Everything he said was true.
Damn, maybe he's kind of based for that. There's some people who feel the same way out there. Meikawa, Ball Knowers Incorporated, I guess. Meikawa also said that there was one draft where the connection to Sonic Rush would have been made more clear. This is very important, by the way. We'll have the talk about it when we get there. But nothing has been officially stated about it, is essentially what they said.
By which he means that the Sega has not made clear the connections to Sonic Rush. I should point that out, because it was a bit vague when he said that. During journalist previews and showcases, the game was actually very well received. And that was because the preview build was actually a much more advanced build than what the final release was built on. Sonic Team claims that they were forced to revert to an older build of the game to finish on top of because of stability issues. Now, I can only imagine what that means, because what the fuck do you mean stability issues with what the final game is? But the most famous example of this, something being left behind, was a day-night cycle in the game's action stages. This was displayed behind closed doors in E3 2005, showing Sonic running through Kingdom Valley.
Well,
oh my God.
There's another component to this that was not mentioned in our notes, but I feel like it's important to talk about. The Xbox Live Arcade demo. Now, for those that know, the Xbox Live Arcade demo of Sonic 06 actually uses a more finished version of Sonic 06 than the final game. There were a lot of graphical enhancements not seen in the finished product. Sonic controlled way better, much faster, much snappier. And on top of that, he was also just a lot more fun to play as. Had some more finished level design, some textures looked a lot nicer. This didn't include the day and night cycle, but it was very clear that it was a marked step up from the final product. And honestly, I don't blame Sonic Team and Sega. Well, I don't blame Sonic Team for having to do what they needed to do to get the game released at the behest of their corporate overlords. Yeah, this is a beta build. Actually, I would say it's like alpha. No, beta is more of a nicer way of phrasing it. It's an early beta build, because this version of the game feels like it has another year left in the oven before it's even remotely a good game.
And, unfortunately, once the game actually released, critics and fans alike would have a very negative opinion about the game, as even today, it is now considered to be one of the worst video games of all time. And of course, the most common complaint are the game's constant and long load times, and also a certain aspect of the story we will definitely be talking about.
Yeah, you know it, I know it, everybody fucking knows it, and, yeah. Anyways, people were nice about the music, though, but that's just generally good for Sonic games. I mean, even in my playthrough, generally the music was pretty solid. It's not my favorite Sonic soundtrack, but there's some songs in there and some cutscene music specifically that's very wonderful. I'm very, very, very positive about that aspect of it, at least.
But despite the negative reviews, Sega reported the game sold strong and had a solid commercial performance. The game obviously sold best in the US and Europe, meeting the company's expectations for sales, reaching an overall figure for 870,000 copies sold in those respective regions. The game was also re-released on the Xbox 360's budget line, Platinum Family Hits, but not on the PS3's budget line Greatest Hits, despite meeting the criteria to do so. Third-party estimates calculate that worldwide and in total, Sonic 06 may have sold close to 2 million copies. So hey, look, nothing to sneeze at. That's a very, very good performance at the end of the day, despite what the game itself is.
We have kind of covered all that we know about Sonic 06's development history. There is a lot of hearsay, but we tried to condense this down to what we think are the most essential facts to talk about the game and its general overall flow. I feel like the moral of the story here, alongside a lot of the other stuff we're going to be talking about, is basically that Sonic Team basically got giga-fucked over by Sega. Yuji Naka left the project midway through, or even early on in some cases, and completely and totally destroyed any semblance of flow because Naka's a bitch. Frankly, part of me does kind of believe the whole thing about maybe him standing up for his employees, specifically about the fact that the development conditions were absurd. But I also think this is Yuji Naka, so he could also be lying through his teeth. But ultimately, the reality of the situation is that this game came out, it was birthed from an awful circumstance, and there was no hope of it ever actually being something that was competent. Unfortunately, revisionism is a hell of a drug, and there are people who will tell you otherwise. We are now going to talk about the actual game. Yeah, they weren't kidding when they said this game has a lot of elements from adventure. You start with Sonic only. You unlock the rest as you play. You start at night with the focal character story meeting right away. And there's also an Eggman redesign to boot. Ugh. Oh, God. We'll talk about it in a second. This game was also intended, like we mentioned, to be a soft reboot. So any elements that were brought in from previous games that seemed like retreads were largely done on purpose, with one glaring major black and red exception who is absolutely not in the reboot territory. It's a continuation. I'm sorry. That's how I feel about it. Anyways, Sonic Story. What the fuck actually happens in Sonic Story? But like, when I say that, I don't mean that in like the, oh, explain. I mean that in the like, okay, but like what actually happens?
We're going to have to like have a conversation about it at the end, but Sonic Story in Sonic 06 is ironically the most nothing part of it, because a lot of the main juice of the story happens in the other characters' stories, and you're gonna see why. So let's start. The Festival of the Sun in the Principality of Soleanna. They are hosting the Festival of the Sun to honor their god Solaris, when the regent, Princess Elise III, takes the Eternal Flame to open the festival, and has a vision of Soleanna burning, a giant monster roaming the streets. But the vision breaks, and they're quickly invaded by Dr. Eggman, intending to kidnap both the princess and take her Chaos Emerald to extract the secrets of the Flames of Disaster from her. So, we don't know anything about what's going on here, but let's strike first about Dr. Eggman.
Pull up the design. Everyone has to see it. Everyone has to see it. Patreon, non-Patreon, everyone's got to see it. Everyone's got to look at the design. What the fuck? Why? This design is abhorrent. I cannot fucking stand it. I keep looking at it. I have looked at it so many times over the last 10 to 15 years, and every time the only thing that comes up to my head is why. Why was this the choice? See, it would be fine if the golden nipples did not exist all over the design, right? Do you agree? Like, it would be fine. Like,
maybe
passable.
If they were less pronounced. I know what they're going for here, especially considering the fact that it is an attempt of bringing Eggman's design into more uniformity with the rest of the human characters that the world is presenting. I will say this, though. There was another example in another game where they should have done in this. And that's Sonic Unleashed, because they designed the humans like they designed Eggman, and that is a much better way of doing things.
Yes, and it looked so much better in that game. It was absolutely ridiculous. We'll talk about it when we talk about Unleashed, but the Pixar-esque designs that they went with for the human characters paid off in spades. Everyone looks amazing in that game, but this design is abhorrent.
This is really where they kind of thought of, what if Sonic existed in the real world the most literally?
Unironically, Sega hired this man.
And of course, I should also say that Soleanna is based on Venice, Italy. And that is actually very important to note.
Yeah, we'll be talking about a certain character. Oh, we'll get to you. Oh, we'll get to you. Oh, we'll get to you, you motherfucker. I like you. I like you outside of this game. I like you outside of this game. Please don't crucify me. Please don't crucify me. Okay, anyways, let's keep going. The wind surrounds the area. Eggman's robots are destroyed, revealing our blue boy, Sonic himself, voiced by Jason Griffith. Once again, the 4Kids cast is the norm now. And the voice direction is pretty abhorrent. I don't want to be mean, but I think the voice acting in this game for English is pretty atrocious. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, the English VA work is very stilted, very all over the place, and it feels very lifeless. And it's really unfortunate, considering there are some times where you can see some breaks in that. Oh, we also didn't mention something very important. Princess Elise. She's actually not voiced by any of the 4Kids cast. She's voiced by famous actress Lacey Chabert. She's kind of phoning it in.
Yeah,
honestly.
Again, it's another case of 90% of the time your issue is with the voice director.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate and weird. I don't know. Anyways, Elise quickly confuses Sonic for another white hedgehog. What is it with this game series and confusing two things that don't look the same?
You know what? I think the humans are just racist. Let's be honest.
I mean, it's humanity. I expect nothing less, especially if they're coming from Italy. The European racism is real. Sonic takes her away from Eggman, dodging missile attacks from Eggman, and evades him for a bit until Eggman does successfully kidnap Elise to a new, maybe, egg carrier, but she throws her Chaos Emerald to Sonic. Oh, yeah. The CG cutscene in this game was made by Blur Studios. This isn't their first job with Sega and Sonic Team, right? Like, they've done work before, or was this their first time doing it?
It may be the first. This is definitely their first, big project. I can say that much.
Yeah, and the CG cutscenes do look pretty solid, for the most part. There's some weirdness here and there. And also, the end of the CG cutscene has a certain white hedgehog. I finally found him. The Iblis Trigger. All right, man. Okay. All right, it's whatever. Okay. Just go.
Now, the next morning after all this, Sonic meets Tails in the city, And they talk a little bit and head toward the beach. The first level of the game, Wave Ocean. Now, this is where the idea of it being a soft reboot does kind of show up in spades, because this is very reminiscent of Emerald Coast.
Yes. Sonic and beach levels has sort of been a thing ever since SA1, and I guess they wanted to call back to it both literally and figuratively. So, for those of you who are somehow painfully unaware, okay, so what's the gameplay like? Alberto, just show them the loop-de-loop clip. You know the one.
I know the one. It's playing right now. Just
look. Just look there. Oh, there he goes. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that gave you guys like a real good picture of what this video game is, because there's a lot more of it to come. Wave Ocean is inoffensive, ? For Sonic 06 standards. It's just boring. And you kind of start to get a taste of the problems. If it's not the game randomly deciding that, hey, you actually aren't on a solid surface for some reason, or, hey, your collision is not working properly, or, oh, the camera is going to have a fucking meltdown because you moved it on one piece of geometry and it can't adjust off of the piece of geometry, so it flips the fuck out until it can figure out where it wants to go. Then you're contending with the fact that Sonic fucking sucks to play in this game. He moves egregiously slow. Like, his top speed does not feel like Sonic. He feels pathetic. It is actually absurd.
Yeah. Even going so far is that there is a whole completely separate segment of the game that some of the stages have, which are called Mach Speed sections. Now, this stage introduces them as well, in which at the last third of a stage, let's say, you are forced to an on-rails segment where Sonic is, as he says, we gotta speed up, and he is running at what we assume is his top speed, but becomes incredibly slippery to control. Don't even bother trying to jump, because after that you've surrendered all control at that point.
Yeah, you're gonna have to jump in some later levels. It does not feel good to do. Sonic feels impossible to control at times. If you understand how to make him work, you can control him, but it's something where it just doesn't feel natural or conducive to actually move the character around. It's honestly quite baffling. He also, because he's on rails, it means that if he runs into a wall, he just gets stuck in a tumble state and just dies, because you can't go backwards. You can't stop. You have no way to stop.
Yeah, it's really
not good. Oh yeah, Tails is playable in this level too.
There are going to be some segments in a good amount of the stages where you give up control to one of the Amigo characters, as they're called. Tails is introduced here. And one important thing that we actually did not talk about, and there's a good reason why we didn't talk about in regards to Sonic, is that the game has an energy meter in which certain characters, it does different things to certain characters depending on what happens to. So for Tails, it's like his flight gauge, for example. The reason why we didn't talk about it in regards to Sonic is because it is literally broken. And I mean that in the sense is that they did not program it to work for Sonic. So when you play as Sonic, you get different power-ups in the form of gems that in canon attach at the heel of Sonic's shoe. And they are supposed to do variable different things. Some will give Sonic a temporary boost, or some will shrink Sonic and give him infinite jumps, for example. The thing is that the game was supposed to be programmed is that the energy gauge for Sonic would be used for those gem power-ups. However, because they literally forgot to program those in, Sonic just kind of becomes broken depending on what power-up you have, and it is very funny and is the source of many, many speedrunning tactics.
They're really funny to use. The one where he becomes small and you can just jump forever is so fucking funny, man. That shit is so funny to abuse. It's hysterical. Most of them suck, by the way. Most of them are ass, like actually garbage to use.
Yeah, there's one where Sonic does like a spin kick in place that kicks up a tornado. Literally, what is the purpose of that? Literally, what is the purpose of that? I know it's supposed to be for combat, but like, you don't need it for combat.
What combat, bro? What combat?
That's also the case, is that your combat is just homing attack, which is par for the course in 3D Sonic, so I'm not going to complain about it, but they clearly had a different vision for what the game finally resulted in. And this, folks, is a many such cases. Let's tag that in there.
Yeah, you know how it is. Anyways, they fail to catch up to the egg carrier, making the entire mission completely pointless. They believe Elise to be taken to the next stage, which is the desert, and find Elise held in a cell there. This is after, there are some side missions that you have to do in the Soliana hub. This also is a great example of why this game is unfinished. Oh my god, this hub looks horrendous.
Yeah, the hub is literally unfinished. Like, it is horribly empty.
The NPC models are really bad. The NPC animations are horrible. The fucking dude, the every mail, oh my god, dude, it's. Anyways, you do a side mission, you get access to the desert, and I think the side mission involves you like saving a kid from a roof by spin dashing under some I don't fucking know, man. Anyways, you eventually make it to the desert. And we find Elise held in a cell there, and we release her. Eggman discovers the three of them, and 6 of the game's first boss on Sonic, the Egg Cerberus. Let's talk a little bit about the enemy designs. This is actually important. They decided that they wanted a more realistic look for the robots. This is not a bad idea in theory. It's just, I don't think the designs are very good. Is kind of the problem, right?
I can agree with that. I mean, I actually don't hate the 06 like basic enemy design, like the basic backtick designs. I think they're pretty solid. In a vacuum, I think they could be pretty cool.
In a vacuum, I think they're fine. The problem is that a lot of the enemy designs sort of blend together. Like, they're too basic for their own good, you know?
After you defeat the Egg Cerberus, which the gameplay for that is basically, for most bosses, you're like in an arena kind of situation. You have to fight each boss within that arena, and you have different tactics of what you need to do. So for the Egg Cerberus, you have to homing attack its back, grind down the rail, and you have to use its horn to latch onto it and aim it towards like a statue in the arena to do damage to it. It's very basic. I mean, it's the first boss. It's gonna be basic, but it's basic.
Yeah, you can also do some funny tech where you're, you can just abuse the fact that the homing attack has weird jank tracking and just continually slide up his tail and just quick kill him. It's really fun.
Yeah. So after that, we go to the next stage, Dusty Desert. Now, this stage is actually a unique kind of twist on the gameplay that happens every now and again in Sonic's story, in which Sonic will be carrying Elise through the stage. Now, when Sonic and Elise are together, they can combine their power, quote unquote, and create a sort of shield around them. Now, the shield does not actually block damage. What the shield does lets Sonic walk on surfaces that he normally would sink through. So he can stand on water like this, and he can also stand on the quick stand. This is the only case, for the record, by the way, where the energy gauge actually works for Sonic.
It's I don't know, man. Something load-bearing Elise, making the game actually function as possible. Dusty Desert, at least Sonic's rendition of it, is kind of like, it's more of an introduction to this idea and concept, and it isn't like horrifically offensive. It's just kind of boring. But you do get access to a new gameplay mechanic, and I don't think it's very fun. I just kind of think it's like just an excuse to have Sonic and Elise do something together. But like, even then, it's not that interesting, right?
Yeah, I see what they were going for, but it's just sort of like, it feels just like a very bare bones twist that, it does add something, but Not really a lot.
Exactly. Like, I feel like there is a good idea here, but it's just sort of buried in a lot of other very obvious gameplay problems. And Sonic can only use the homing attack while he's with Elise, by the way.
Yeah, no gems, no spin attack, no homing attack, no nothing.
Nothing. Anyways. Alright, so after they go through the level together, Elise and Sonic end up in the Windows XP background. No, I'm not kidding. It is actually like the Windows XP background, like word for word, bar for bar. You go look at this cutscene right now, man. You'll see it. You'll know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's really funny. I don't know why they decided to go that. Maybe they just found like a basic background, just said like, dog, we are running short on time. Good enough. Put them in there.
Yeah. Anyways, this cutscene is the beginning of the incident. Where Sonic and Elise have a friendship that begins to get developed over the course of the game. At first, it is innocent, but it is slowly starting to morph into an odd sort of relationship between the two because of the way that the game frames the writing. Basically, Sonic is trying to encourage Elise to be more brave and be more open and not as reserved. The problem with this is that Elise has basically been told that she cannot do certain things because she is a princess. Sonic basically says, if you have time to worry, then run. To which he then pulls her arm. It literally looks like he's about to rip her fucking frail arm.
Yeah, she's very skinny. Like, I don't know if it was like a modeling thing, but she's a twig.
Yeah, she's a fucking twig, man. She does not. It does not look human. It looks like, I don't mean this in like an offensive way to people who do suffer with anorexia, but like she does look like she does have like a condition, and it is like really weird why the model looks like that. Anyways, so on top of this, we start to actually get some exposition about the lore of Soliana and some of the specifics around it. So Elise tells Sonic that the flames of disaster Eggman seeks is the wrath of Solaris, which killed her father, the Duke of Soliana. Maybe the dumbest character in all of Sonic the Hedgehog, by the way. This guy's a fucking moron. 10 years prior. As a result, if the flames are ever unleashed, the entire world basically gets blown up. So they eventually make their way back to the city. Oh no, it's time. And they are attacked by a white hedgehog who is able to throw energy and objects from his mind. Meet Silver the Hedgehog, who calls Sonic the Iblis Trigger.
Silver the Hedgehog in this game, voiced by Pete Capella, who is, I'm not gonna lie, one of the better voices of Silver the Hedgehog, despite what the performance is given here.
I'm gonna compose myself. Silver he has a reputation, and a lot of it is because of this game. And it's really unfortunate, because I think Silver is actually not a half bad character. He's Trunks. Like, let's just, like, rip the Band-Aid off right now. He's Trunks.
Yeah, he's quite literally, he is inspired by, and he is quite literally just future Trunks. And listen, folks, this character, Silver the Hedgehog, in this game in a vacuum, is quite literally potential character in potential game.
Dude, don't even get me started. It's so funny. Anyways. So, this is now going to lead us to the most iconic boss fight of this whole game, which is the first battle against Silver the Hedgehog as Sonic. Alberto, it's no use. It's no use. It's no use. It's no use. It's no use! It's no use!
Take this!
Take this! Take this!
And who can forget the classic glitch where if you angle it just right, if you angle it like just overhead homing attack, Silver will catch you and throw you past the level geometry, past the barrier of which the arena is, and you will just be sent flying far beyond the load map and just going into space infinitely.
Yeah, on top of that, this boss fight is also horrendous for a variety of reasons. In theory, it's not hard. You wait for Silver to throw some items at you, or you wait for him to pick up items so that you have an opening to hit him. The problem is that because this game was rushed out the door, Silver is able to chain grab you. AKA, you can get stuck in an infinite death loop. Meaning that you can't actually fight against him.
And in this scenario, that works by Silver pins you to a wall, and the ring that like is left behind doesn't like get thrown, but it sort of loads on top of where Sonic is. So you are effectively soft locked with Silver pinning you, throwing you, ring dropped, ring automatically picked up. The invincibility frames are worn off. Silver grabs you again immediately, throws you, ring dropped, ring picked up, soft lock, soft lock, soft lock.
It is atrocious. And frankly, to be perfectly honest with you, just absolutely abhorrent. On my playthrough, as somebody who knew how to deal with it, yeah, I still got hit with the loop once or twice. It is obnoxious. And beating the one could argue it's the hardest thing in Sonic 06. Well, excuse me, aside from something else involving Silver, which we'll talk about. Oh, don't worry. Sonic and Silver fight. And as the two continue to battle, Silver starts getting the upper hand. By the way, I also forgot to mention something else. Pete Capella voiced Jaden Yuki in the 4Kids GX dub. Jesus Christ, his voice is so annoying in this game. Anyways, Silver is about to take the final blow. Eggman kidnaps Elise again. This is a running theme, by the way. And Sonic is then saved by Amy, letting Sonic escape to chase after Eggman. So Sonic then decides to go to the docks, meeting up with Tails and also Knuckles, who showed up for no reason, seemingly whatsoever, except to deliver a message from Dr. Eggman.
Yeah, and this message says that he will hand over Elise if they give up the Chaos Emerald. So, the three go through Eggman's base, White Acropolis. This is sort of where the real cracks of the game are shown in this stage.
Yeah, like, if you weren't already sort of starting to raise an eyebrow at some of the stuff that was happening prior, and then getting hit with the it's no use soft lock, this is where we start to really see how broken this game is. So, it starts off with a snowboard section. You're like, oh, wow, it's like SA1 again. Oh, it's awesome. It's like SA. Oh, no, this thing controls horribly. Oh, God, it's barely functional. Oh, God, the acceleration is fucked. Oh, God, what the fuck is going on? I can barely control it. Oh, God, it feels horrible. It doesn't even feel like you're snowboarding. It feels like you're like...
sliding. You're just sliding down on a bar of soap.
Yeah, like a bar of soap. That's actually a good way of putting it. The thing barely functions, and eventually you make it through, and the game tells you to jump at one point, but the way the jumping works isn't entirely clear, so you can just die, and...
You go through it, you do your best at it, and about halfway through you do a Tails segment, which... the way the game intends on you to do it is that they kind of want you to stealth your way through it. But Tails, part of his gameplay is that he can throw dummy ring bombs, which are explode on impact, but for some reason, well, they're dummy ring bombs. So what they are effectively are just fake capsules full of rings that Tails can throw at enemies, and they will explode, but will leave behind fake rings. Now, let's imagine you do that, 10 fake rings are left behind, and Tails gets hit. You can't really tell the difference between the fake rings and the real... Well, you kinda can if you have the eye for it, but because like the fake rings are duller, so if you look really closely, you can tell the difference, but it's a very minor difference. So I wouldn't blame you for not being able to tell which ring is which.
It's so minute in so many ways. It's so easy to lose track of them. It's so dumb. I don't understand why this was the design decision at all. I don't understand what the theory and like concept behind, hey man, let's make it so that Tails' rings look nearly identical to the actual rings he needs to survive. But yeah, you're intended to stealth through this segment and it barely fucking works. Like, you literally just fucking book it from one end to the other by flying, and like, that's it, man.
Either way, they get through it, and inside, they are met by both Eggman and Elise, who they surrender the Chaos Emerald to, and Eggman tricks them into a chamber of a machine that he called the Solaris Prototype, throws the switch, pillar of purple energy, and up through Team Sonic disappears, and Elise is stunned to what she saw, and Eggman even admits he does not know where or when they were sent to. The next cutscene starts immediately after, where Team Sonic pops through on the other side, the same area, but aged and left in ruins. So when they're going through what's left behind here, they come towards a console. Tails turns it on and finds that they were flung forward 200 years into the future, and find an archive of a newspaper detailing Elise's death when the egg carrier crashed, leading to the flames of disaster being released and the destruction of Soleana. So,
oh yeah, by the way, Elise is the vessel for the flames of disaster.
yeah. Again, that's going
What's
to be
the trigger? What's the trigger for the flames of disaster aside from her death? Oh, don't worry, it's as stupid as you could possibly imagine.
Once they go outside, they are found by Shadow and Rouge, and they tell them that in order to return to the present, Sonic and Shadow will both need their own Chaos Emeralds to do Chaos Control at the same time and open a rift in time and space. So this leads us to probably the most iconic stage in Sonic 06, Crisis City.
So it's between this and a stage that comes on later, but yeah, this is easily the most iconic stage from this game. But we say iconic, I don't even think the stage is super well designed. I just think that it's iconic because of like how it looks, you know?
I mean, it's definitely a great use of the game's engine. We can say that, right?
Oh, yeah, I can agree with that. At least. There's a lot of like spectacle moments where they really want you to like get like whoaed by like the fact that like there's a lot of broken stuff all over the place, and there's a lot of like moments where like glass breaks, or you're shooting through like broken cityscape and stuff like that. It's like that's kind of I mean it's all right.
yeah. Like you see what I mean? Like I mean, look, let's be honest with ourselves. Like for Sonic and Shadow generations, right? Sonic Gens, they chose to represent this stage with Crisis City, and Shadow Gens uses the other stage that we will talk about momentarily soon. So look, it's one or the other, and it would have been one or the other in regards to Sonic Generations. We'll get to that when we get to that. But look, the game, it is a spectacle, and it is a great use of the game's technology, don't get me wrong. Music is also, it's alright. Music's alright.
Like Crisis City's track is like all right. It's just I think the remixes have done it more goodwill than the actual stage itself, right?
Yeah, and of course, it's sort of like has a little bit of everything going on there in regards to Sonic. Start with the snowboarding section that's really shit to control on foot stages as that when you're halfway through it, and then once you get to the last third, you get the Mach Speed section, which is probably the worst Mach Speed section in the game.
Wait, all right.
Well, tied for the other one.
Hold on. All right, we gotta say the line now. That tornado's
carrying a
car. Yes, Sonic. Thank you for that astute observation as you plummet directly into an oncoming pillar that you will literally not be able to move from. The Mach Speed section is abysmal dog shit. It's horrible. Unless you already know what you're doing, it's awful to control and play against, and it's a horrible way to end this stage. Sometimes cars will just get randomly flung at you, and you have no way of knowing what's coming, and they completely fuck you every which way.
Yeah, literally the only way where you can course correct is if you use the Lightspeed dash on a trail of rings, and that's if a trail of rings is coming towards you.
Exactly. It just does not feel good whatsoever. It's fucking God. Fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, it's I don't know, man. This shit's so ass. Alright, so after this, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Rouge, and Shadow have a little bit of banter and back and forth. Rare instance where it feels like the game actually has some decent character interaction. Not amazing, but enough to actually get you, like, somewhat invested in what's going on, right?
As they need 2 Chaos Emeralds, Shadow already got his in Crisis City, so they need to find another one in Flame Core, which is an active volcano. When they go through that stage, this is back-to-back, by the way. Flame Core takes place at night now, and it actually does look really good. Can we agree with that?
So I think the big problem with Flame Core's level is that the lava looks very 7th gen, but I think that the aesthetic and what they're going for at least looks nice.
I mean, outside in the volcano, like when you're outside the volcano, I think that's when the stage looks
absolutely,
the best.
Absolutely, yeah. And then when you're inside, it looks like abysmal dog shit.
Yeah, the lighting is all off, by the way. Like it's lava. You expect there to be some light coming from it, and there is some light coming from it, but it's like not enough at all. And when you're in and at one point in the stage, when you're like deep in the interior, I think the lighting is legitimately broken after that, because they definitely banked on the lighting coming from the lava, but it's not doing that. So you are basically in pitch darkness.
You know, speaking of pitch darkness, can we talk about Knuckles? Can we talk about...
This is the first part, but when you get to about halfway through the stage, the player character shifts to Knuckles, where you have to go through a small interior segment where you have to turn on light orbs to light the way for Sonic to get through to the end. However, I think this was intentional, I need to say this, is that you are actually, the game does not tell you this by the way, you are on a bit of a time limit. You have to turn on all the lights in a not in a sequential order per se, but you need to turn on all the lights in fast enough time, because after a certain period, those orbs will turn off. And if you take a while finding all those orbs, you can find all the 5 you need, but the game won't progress because 1 or 2 of them will have turned off. So you have to backtrack, turn them on again, and maybe the others along the way have turned off, and you got yourself in a stuck little loop.
You know, this is also not talking about the fact that Knuckles doesn't actually work correctly. He latches onto walls and has the worst climbing animation of all time. You know that it's like...
It is very funny because the speed of which does not match it either. It's very funny.
It looks so off. It's really funny. But yeah, on top of that, this is also the stage where the infamous Jonathan moment happened, for those who know. The less we talk about him, the better.
What a fall from grace that guy had, huh?
A fall from grace is a light way to say it. When you're best known as the internet funny man, and then you become
become literally Hitler.
Hitler, yeah, exactly. So like,
I mean, are we really surprised from a man named John Arian Jafari? That is his middle name, by the way. Look it up.
That's true. That's like 100%. Everything you said was true.
Yeah, well, he was raised in California, and you need to understand that there are people who are raised in California who have the takes of neo-Nazis many times over. So unfortunately, this is not a like, oh, one-off. It's a many such cases. Anyways, Flame Core is fine for the most part. It's just, like the interior segments suck. Knuckles is horrendous to play as, but yes, you do it. You defeat the Flame Core, and we find the Chaos Emerald. Until, out of fucking nowhere, one of Iblis's lesser bodies show up, aka it's a fucking sperm. It's a sperm.
It's kind of an interesting presentation as well, because much like in SA1, you fight the boss as one character in their respective story, by which I mean Sonic and Shadow, but canonically they are both fighting this boss at the same time.
Yeah, but this boss sucks. Oh, I'm waiting on the platform. Oh, he's gonna attack the platform. Oh, he's gonna do a little shake and fucking spam his fucking, I don't know, man, like his nuggets or something like that at me. Oh, I gotta hit the orb. Oh, he attacks the Sonic, look out! It's like...
I don't know what they were thinking with this one, folks. I don't know. Either way, you figure out a way to defeat it, and they get that Chaos Emerald that they need. So, the Hedgehogs do their dual Chaos Control and open this time rift. So, Team Sonic jumps into it first, and we'll get back to Shadow. Don't you worry for us, because Shadow is having a bit of an adventure of his own. Oh my god, is he having an adventure of his own. So Team Sonic returns to the present, and they see that Shadow and Rouge did not follow them. So Sonic then splits from Tails and Knuckles to pursue Eggman's train in a radical train. This is actually one of the better levels of 06, but that's not really saying much.
It sure isn't. There's a physics-based mechanic with the way that platforms work, and you're sort of on a time limit. The time limit is fake. It's really easy to get to where you need to go to make sure that you get to the stops so that the train that Elise is on doesn't blow up. As Eggman continues down the line over and over and over again. You eventually end in a Mach speed segment that has really, 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 really funny piloting. On my most recent playthrough, you know the final jump ramp that you're supposed to go off to hit the gold ring? I missed it and somehow still got the gold ring.
Oh no, yeah, that's a common bug, yeah. That's very well known.
Funny. It's really, really funny. It's really, really, really funny. We don't really have much to say about Radical Train because it's just kind of whatever, but the music is all right. It's not amazing. Oh, we didn't talk about Flame Core's music. Flame Core actually has some of my favorite music in the whole game. It's really good.
Yeah, it's very soft tempo, very low key. It's not at all what you would expect Sonic music to be, but it fits the stage very well.
It's like partially like low tempo, but also like very rock inspired. It's, you know what it reminds me of? It almost reminds me of Hidden Palace in a way. Like you know the Hidden Palace.
Very fascinating you make that comparison.
Well, the reason I make it is because I think that, like, you know the Hidden Palace remix in Mania, where it's like very slow, right? But then it has like the rock portions of it. It almost reminds me of that in a weird way, where it's like a weird mix of that. But that's just my take on it. It's a great song though. I really, 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 really fucking like Flame Core's music in general. I think it's super good.
So, Sonic rescues Elise again after the stage, only to lose her again after he's found by Silver and gets hit in the back. But Shadow interferes to fight Silver and tells Sonic to go for Elise. I know what you're all thinking. We'll get to that in Shadow's story. Put a pin in it. For the love of God, leave me alone. So, as Sonic chases after Eggman, he goes to the next boss that's left behind for him, the Egg Genesis in Soliana Forest. Yes, it's a reference to the Sega Genesis in name only. I think it may be inspired by the design in some way. I don't know, man. Don't ask me questions. This is a very bad boss, too.
No, shit not good.
The weak spot is like right under it, glowing red. You have to chain homing attack the enemies in order to hit it.
And then he tries to suicide. And guys, it's just like the Egg Viper. Dude, this game loves that trope, by the way, for no reason. It loves using it like 5 different times.
It's crazy, folks. Crazy stuff.
I know. Yeah, we still don't. We just don't know. We just don't know. It's just not natural.
Right. So, Elise in his arms, he's running through Soliana Forest and takes her through the next stage, Tropical Jungle. Again, it's a Sonic and Elise stage, so Sonic has to use their shield of faith or whatever to run across the water so he does not drown. The stage also has a unique mechanic in which you have to latch onto vines to jump through one point to another. But the vines have a little fruit at the end of them, in which when they glow, you can jump higher. I don't really know the point of it. Maybe it leads you to a different upper route that goes faster, like in classic 2D Sonic games. I don't really know. I can't tell the difference. I don't know what's going on. Really, in general. Where am I?
That's a great question, man. I wish I could tell you.
Yeah, Tropical Jungle is unfortunately another whatever stage. But music's pretty alright, actually.
Yeah, also, for some reason, Sonic decides to say, "Let's rip," and I always think it's really funny. Why did he say, "Let's rip," bro?
Let it rip, Beyblade.
No, he doesn't. It's not "let it rip," it's "let's rip."
So, after they go through Tropical Jungle, Sonic brings her back to the city and says that she should go back to the castle. And very nearly cries when telling Sonic about her duty to the kingdom, which, when you have the context of the other stories, that is really bad, considering that she was moved so harshly. But Sonic assures her, Elise, just smile, and everything will be okay. Now, I can't really look.
Wait, dude. No, you gotta say that. Elise, just smile. It's like, bro.
It's very it's very forced. It's very forced. I know it's meant to be a lot more sweeter and a lot more like of a cornerstone of Elise's story, but like the voice direction does not help.
Sure doesn't, bro. Sure doesn't.
Well, anyway, Elise is back in the castle. It's all good for now until Eggman shows up in his egg carrier above the castle, and Eggman, in my opinion, kind of out of character a bit, threatens to carpet bomb Soleana unless Elise surrenders herself to Eggman. He's kind of wildin', man.
Yeah, he really just said, oh, fuck it, I guess.
She agrees, kidnapped once again, as Eggman reveals his intentions for wanting to extract the flames from Elise so he can conquer time itself. This is the second time where he wanted to do that, but worked out pretty well the first time, didn't it, buddy?
Sure did.
Meanwhile, Sonic chases after the egg carrier through the other iconic level of Sonic 06, Kingdom Valley. So, in Sonic Generations, the game was represented with Crisis City, and in Shadow Generations, it was Kingdom Valley. And this is probably the best track in the game as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty easy to say that in terms of the level music. It's really, really, really good. It's pretty iconic too. It's been remixed a lot in recent years, and all the Kingdom Valley remixes are really good. You know, I don't have... The level design is okay here, but it's more of a problem of, like, the fact... maybe this is a larger discussion about, like, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 in general, but, like... So there's been this like, bit that people have been talking about where it's like, Sonic 06's level design is actually good. And I'm like... Kind of?
It is one of the better aspects of the game, I can admit that much, but is it good with a capital G? I don't know if I can say that.
I don't necessarily think I can either.
Don't get me wrong, some stages had more effort put into them than others. Kingdom Valley is one of them. Crisis City is one of them. Flame Core is one of them. White Acropolis did not have much effort put into it.
I don't think it's bad. I'm just like... I don't know, man. It's like, the game around it is just not built for what they are trying to do. It just doesn't feel like the level design is congruent with the game itself. And that's why people have been like, oh, well, the level design is good, actually. And a lot of that comes from a fan project, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like the gameplay is so polished at that point that it, like, kind of makes the level design better by, like, association, but... I don't think the level design in Sonic 06 is bad, but I don't think it's very good most of the time either. And that has to do a lot with, like, how you interact with the level design, more or less.
Yeah, I see. And again, another great showcase of the game's engine here as well. A lot of destructible environments.
Yeah, the destructible environment shit in, like, 2006 must have looked really cool, even when it looks jank as fuck because, you know, they didn't have any time to make it look proper. It's pretty cool when stuff starts breaking and crashing and falling over the place. It's fun. The Mach Speed section at the end of this level fucking sucks dick, though. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, that one's also pretty rough. It's probably tied for the worst Mach Speed section with Crisis City. After going through Kingdom Valley, Sonic is interrupted by a pack of Eggman's robots, but is saved by Silver, of all people, having had a change of heart off-screen. And they follow the egg carrier through Kingdom Valley, but its engines malfunction, causing the carrier to crash, as Sonic and Silver could not catch up to it in time, and thus doom the world to eternal flames. Also, this is the only scene where Sonic and Blaze share screen time. Neither of them acknowledge the other, and we will talk about this later, don't you worry. However, I will say, imagine knowing nothing about this game and suddenly seeing fucking Blaze in this game, in this singular cutscene.
She literally spawns in. It's so funny, dude.
Why?
Man,
what the hell?
I wish
she may as well not even be there. She doesn't even say anything. Anyway, Silver offers Sonic to do a dual chaos control to send Sonic back in time before the crash and rescue Elise that way. Sonic agrees, and before jumping into the portal, he throws Silver his emerald and encourages him to fix the future the right way. When we told you guys he's Future Trunks, we really meant that shit.
Dude, okay. Anyways, so they go back in time one day. He meets back with Tails and Knuckles, and the three infiltrate another Eggman stronghold aquatic base. Well, this isn't an Eggman stronghold per se. It's an Eggman stronghold that has been it's a place that has been repurposed by Dr. Eggman, to put it lightly.
But the stage itself is for a finale stage, it's really underwhelming.
Yeah, it's not a great stage. Goes on for a little too long. It's pretty boring. The music is very sleepy. Doesn't really feel high intensity. It doesn't really feel like a final level, to be perfectly honest with you. It's kind of a big mid, not gonna lie.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on here. You do play as Tails and Knuckles individually in the stage as well, so at least they're mixing it up a bit, but like, it's very It's very Either way, you go through it and Sonic boards the egg carrier just before it takes off and discovers, just as the engines start to go down, where Elise is and grabs her, but before he's able to escape, he is forced to fight the final boss of his story, the Egg Wyvern. Much like in Sonic Adventure 1, as we mentioned, it also does a suicide attack when defeating it. Oh boy. It's another rough boss, all things considered.
The Egg Wyvern is really boring, and you just kind of wait around, and you wait for him to jump at you, and then you do the thing, and then he does the fucking Egg Vibro, oh, Sonic, watch out, and then, you beat him. And then also there's the really funny cutscene of Eggman ejecting, and then, fucking, he gets bonked, and he just like, woo! It's like, I don't know, man.
It's a little silly. Just a little silly. But after you defeat that boss, goes to the CG cutscene, a really nice looking CG cutscene, I have to say, of Sonic and Elise escaping the crashing egg carrier, and they are back in the Windows XP screensaver, and have a nice strong laugh over escaping death, and of course the days that they spent together. As far as Elise goes, she's got a lot of feelings to work out. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Just, well, I mean, I also think about this cutscene for a very specific reason,
It's sort of like, folks, imagine if the Titus laugh was sincere.
Oh, and also the fucking plane crashing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
5 years after 9/11, and we were already making jokes. Great job, guys. Proud of you. Keep it up. Well, yeah, that's Sonic's story. Now, folks, we described a lot of things that happened here. But, as we talk about the other stories, you're gonna find that, literally nothing happened here. The crux of this story was literally trying to just keep Elise away from Eggman. That is all that happens in this story. We kind of learn a little bit about, like, the larger overarching plot, like with the Flames of Disaster and Solaris in spades, but we don't really learn a lot.
Nothing happens. Nothing happens in the story. Nothing happens. It's nothing happens. That's it. Nothing happens.
We talked a little bit about this, but now let's talk about the more better known part of Sonic 06. Probably is the best part of the game story-wise, and that is focusing on Shadow the Hedgehog. Again, I can only imagine how Shiro, I love Shadow the Hedgehog more than my own family, Meikawa.
That's true.
Put a lot more effort into this part of the story than the others.
You can very clearly tell where the effort went, and it's deliberate, because we actually have things such as themes and characters and introspection and actual discussion around things. Characters talk.
Yeah, and they work things out, and it's, look, listen, I don't want to say that Meikawa is underplaying Yoshimura's role, not at all, but she absolutely did a lot more than just doing minor, fixes here and there, or minor additions. Especially when it comes to Sonic's story, in my opinion.
Oh, man. All right. Well, anyways, so we're going to address a discrepancy here to start. And this has to do with Sega retconning aspects of the story of Shadow not being a gun agent. There are a lot of text strings and dialogues where other gun soldiers do call him Agent Shadow. It's a little bizarre. Why? We don't really know. Probably something to do with mandates. It is a fitting follow-up to Shadow the Hedgehog, where he has decided that his new life is to work with the government to
it's very, do I really want to go this far in saying this? Fuck it, I'm saying it, folks. This is very much a, like neoliberal way of interpreting the story.
Yes.
Look, Shadow working with the government agency that literally fucked his life over and killed his only friend. And he goes into it believing that it has reformed in some way, shape, or form because he had a positive interaction with the person who's in charge of it, even though the real problems of it are institutional and absolutely do still exist. It's not even Bush-era leftism. It's just neoliberal bullshit.
Yes, Crow. It sure is neoliberalism bullshit. Always has been. Always will be.
We live in a society. A very sick society.
Indeed.
We open on Shadow doing a one-man raid on White Acropolis, a request from the President of the United Federation himself, asking Shadow to extract Agent Rouge after she set off an SOS signal in Eggman's base. And we also have to say that the level design here is basically shared across all the stories and all the characters. There is some minor changes here and there to adapt to the gameplay style, especially in Shadow's case, but for the large part, you are replaying the same stage multiple times over. In fact, in this stage, you have to do a stealth section with Rouge playing as her. It's literally the same segment as Tails is in Sonic's story.
She also literally controls the exact same as she controls the exact same as Knuckles and has the same bomb mechanic. And yeah, she also barely works and it's just not fun.
But Shadow's gameplay is actually very solid, funnily enough.
Yeah, it's very basic, but it works. Essentially, they wanted Shadow to have more of a combat focus, so they made his homing attack lead into what's called a Chaos Snap, where basically he just does a bunch of attacks in the air and then finishes it, and then he can just go to the next person and do it. The problem with this is that you don't have a way to cancel the Chaos Snap, at least in this game. It's like I can get behind what they were going for with the combat and like the idea of like, oh, we want to make Shadow more hands-on to make him feel different alongside the vehicle segments that he gets. Oh yeah, he has vehicles in this game. You ride a big truck in as Shadow, all the vehicles control really badly.
Yeah, no, they're awful. I respect them. I do. There are 3 vehicle Shadow controls, and in this stage you are four. There are 4 vehicle Shadow controls as.
The buggy, the motorbike, the hovercraft, and the glider.
Yes, and in this stage you are introduced to the first one, the buggy, the tank car, if you will, and you also have weapons to go along with these vehicles, and with the buggy, you get missiles, and the missiles barely work.
Yeah.
By which I have to say, the aiming for them barely works, I should clarify.
Yes, you can go ahead and pretty much just keep shooting all the time forever.
Either way, you get through them, you get through the stage, and after you locate Rouge and you defeat the Egg Cerberus, Rouge tells Shadow that she was here to recover the Scepter of Darkness. Given no further context than that, so Shadow uses Chaos Control to get him and Rouge out of the base. And they get teleported to a hidden room within the ruins of Old Soleanna. Technically, this is within Kingdom Valley, the ruins of Soleanna, but Rouge asked Shadow to bring her here as this was the rendezvous point Gun set up to exchange the artifact. And when they arrive there, Rouge tells Shadow that this ruined castle was abandoned 10 years ago after a major accident, which was called the Solaris Project. But before she can explain more, they are ambushed by Eggman trying to take back the Scepter of Darkness. However, in the struggle, Rouge accidentally drops it, breaking, and it makes Eggman flee in panicking when it breaks. To which I can only say, what did he know, folks? Well, apparently he knew a lot more than he lets on, because from that scepter, a shadowy mass is sort of released. It wiggles around in a very freaky sense, and it kind of pulses and dives right into Shadow's shadow, so to speak. And from it...
Yeah.
This is legitimately a very cool scene, and they don't really extrapolate on this. There's some hints toward this, but not really in the game itself, in which the shadow is removed from his body, and then it wriggles across the floor and on the wall, and a figure comes out taking on Shadow's body, and it calls itself Mephiles the Dark. So we are now introduced to the main villain of this game, not in Sonic's story, by the way, in Shadow's story. Thank you very much, Shiro Mikawa. Very cool.
So Mephiles is probably one of the best parts about this game. I feel like that kind of goes without saying. He's voiced by Dan Green. He's legitimately somewhat intimidating. Dan Green puts on a pretty damn good performance as him. There is a legitimate attempt at making something interesting here, and this is one of the things that I'm going to be praising about Sonic 06. I think that Shadow's story is generally pretty solid. It's not perfect. There's clearly a lot of problems with how certain things are laid out and executed, but there is an effort put in here to really follow up on some of the themes that were going on in the prior Sonic games. Specifically, stuff related to Shadow, his identity, and what he actually represents to humanity. Ironically enough, it's almost like a proper epilogue to Shadow the Hedgehog in that way, and it does retread some of those themes, but in a way that doesn't feel excessive. More, it's about recontextualizing some of those ideas, bringing them in a new light, and then kind of showing how much Shadow has grown as a character in all of the games he has been in prior. It's solid. And I say that without any sarcasm or hesitation. Yeah, you can praise Sonic 06. There are good things in this game. And that kind of leads us into, I guess, another discussion. Is it wrong to praise bad games when they do right things?
I mean, come on, like let's be serious here, folks. If it's good, it's good. Let's be honest with ourselves.
And like, look, we are unequivocally on the side of this game is fucking bad, and defending it doesn't make any sense. But even in bad things, you can find glimmers of, well, good. And this is one area that I think Sonic 06 kind of does get right. Shadow the Hedgehog, ironically enough, is the best part of this game in terms of the storytelling. Gameplay, well, it's a whole separate story. But at least for the story, I'm actually enjoying myself and having some interesting thoughts and dialogue and bits and pieces about where the story is going to go, especially with the context of how it plays out. But let's continue.
Though Mephiles seems familiar with Shadow, they don't really have time to really elaborate, as he teleports himself, Shadow, and Rouge away. And that is how they find themselves 200 years in the future and meet with Team Sonic. So they go through Crisis City. Again, very similar to Sonic.
It's the exact same level.
It's the same level, just minus the Mach Speed section. I think they replaced Mach Speed section with the Hang Glider. Actually.
Glider section, yes. The Hang Glider section gets added to the level, yeah.
Yeah, and again, very wonky controls. You have the missiles again to knock the debris away. It's rough, but like it's doable. It's doable. Oh, and also the bike is there too, right? Is that where they introduced the bike?
Yeah, that's where they introduced the bike, but it fucking sucks to use, so, you know.
Yeah, it just has the bullets.
Yeah, it's no bueno. It's no bueno.
Well, yeah, they go through Crisis City. Shadow and Rouge find the One Emerald, but they find a seemingly disrepaired Omega locked in standby mode. So they can't really do anything about this, so they just are forced to move on to meet back with Team Sonic and head to Flame Core, fight the Iblis body. Again, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, same issues. We're not going to retread it.
Yeah, no need to. Anyways, all right, well, it's time to talk about one of the best story points in this entire game. Probably one of the best cutscene sequences. So basically, after the dual Chaos Control and Team Sonic leaves, Shadow is distracted by Mephiles, leaving Shadow to chase after him as Rouge leaves in the rift, not being able to reach Mephiles in time. Upset Shadow didn't come back with her, she goes on her own to find Omega, giving him the Chaos Emerald in Tropical Jungle. This stage can also be beaten in 30 seconds. It's really funny. You just fly over everything and you make it to the end. Awesome game design, guys. Great job. 10 out of 10.
Incredible stuff, folks. She gives Omega the Chaos Emerald and tells him to go in standby mode for 200 years to help Shadow in the future, which is an insane thing to say, but he agrees to it, no questions asked, and shuts down all external processes to prioritize this mission. Insane shit, folks. In the future, again, Shadow continues to fight Mephiles, who, in a very... This is actually genuinely the most interesting thing about this game, is that Mephiles does relate and sort of has a camaraderie with Shadow. A lot of it does stem from the fact that you could argue it's because he took Shadow's form, so perhaps it's possible that he may have, like, seen Shadow's memories and understands what his character is to some degree and tries to manipulate him in that sense. We can't really say for sure, but he is manipulating Shadow, or trying to join him. Because he explains in this cutscene that when the Flames of Disaster were unleashed, the general public blamed Shadow, and they forced him into cryostasis where the future Shadow remains. And Mephiles shows him his future body stuck in this cryostasis shell. So, why do you think that the people blame Shadow? Well, I mean, the obvious answer is that Mephiles has Shadow's form, and people just kind of lazily assumed it was Shadow who unleashed the Flames of Disaster. That's the kind of simple explanation there. But the fact remains is that this is also playing off the protector role Shadow wants to live on as what Maria wants him to be. So it leaves him the question that we do ask ourselves through this game: what happens when the people turn on him? If or when?
Yeah, and this is a rather interesting moral dilemma. You have now framed Shadow, the character that has decided that he wants to leave the past behind. How do you actually further a character arc for him if his entire goal is to be a protector, but then everyone blames him? I don't know. It's like, it's actually well written. It's like, whoa, man. Now you're actually thinking about the implications, right? Like, how did, like, at what point did this happen? How did Shadow get around here, you know? It's like, I don't know.
And I mean, also a deeper question is, how exactly was Shadow beaten down and forced into cryostasis? But that's kind of neither here nor there. Because regardless, Shadow is not buying this at all. He does not, he sees exactly what Mephiles is doing and goes right through it.
Also, by the way, the fact that Shadow doesn't even fucking flinch on this, also great example of how his character has developed. At one point, he would have been questioning himself and his commitment to the people, Maria's wish. But instead, he says, "Are you kidding me? I don't give a shit. Fuck you."
And I mean, it's even better to, like, look, this is not to, like, dissuade Ian Flynn's style of writing, because I think if he wrote this, he would have a moment where it would be like, this is not what Maria would have wanted for myself. And I don't think that's a wrong way of doing it, but Meikawa doing it in a more subtle way, I think definitely works here much better.
Yes, I agree. Not bringing Maria up was the right decision, by the way. I think that Shadow being able to move on from Maria is alright, you ready for it? I'm gonna say it. I think Shadow should move on in the main games. I think it's enough time has passed.
No, I mean quite literally. And literally Shadow's story in Sonic 06 is the perfect case study for this. Because never once is Gerald or Maria or Black Doom even mentioned in this game at all. It's Shadow sticking to his conventions to a T and being assured of himself and what he wants to do and what he believes he should be. Because he already went through this arc, he already discovered himself through the events of SA2 and Shadow the Hedgehog. We already went through this. Does it retread it a little bit thematically? Yes, but we don't need it in our face.
I kind of wish that we had a little bit more of the subtlety in modern Sonic writing. Look, I'm not going to sit here and bash Ian and co, because I don't think that's very fair. Meikawa hasn't written for the franchise in God knows how long. That's not the point. But I want this back, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, Sonic the Hedgehog is a kid's franchise at the end of the day. We can't ask for a lot here, but I do think having a more subtle, like, way of telling the story, I think kind of respects the player a bit more.
Yeah, agreed. I think that nobody is expecting Sonic to have like a god, like the greatest story ever told. But I do want Sonic to have a little bit more depth in how it tells its story and characters and writing and stuff like this. This is the stuff that I think is like so interesting to me personally. I love stuff like this. I really do. I think that when Sonic is at its best, it's able to actually convey its characters' ideals through their actions, sometimes instead of their words. And I think that there's a certain line later on that really hammers home the kind of character endpoint that Shadow has, and it's probably one of Shadow's best lines in the whole series, let's be real. But yes, I think this is one of the best moments in 06, without question. This whole explanation is awesome, and I think it really does wonders to show how far Shadow has come as a character as well.
Mephiles is then forced to sort of upgrade himself in the moment to enter a more crystalline looking form. I don't think this form is ever named.
It's just it's just what he's supposed to look like. Also, by the way, we haven't mentioned it at all, but Mephiles, Mephistopheles, evil, like serpent, very like shadowy, sneaky character trying to manipulate everyone, puppet master. I like the crystalline design though. I think it looks pretty cool. I wish we get a better rendition of it in Sonic X Shadow Generations, but even then it's like, dang, man.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the design goes kind of crazy.
It does go kind of crazy, I can't lie, I like it.
So, unfortunately, in this boss fight, the two are evenly matched until Omega reactivates after those 200 years and fires a fucking salvo on him. The fact that his ammunition had not degraded in those 200 years is kind of unbelievable, but this is a fantasy series, let's just move things along.
Dude, you know what we didn't bring up, by the way? We did not bring up the fact that Omega has a cup holder in this game. He puts the Chaos Emerald in his cup holder, bro.
Yeah. I mean, cup holder, CD drive, what's the difference?
I don't know, man. Anyways, why the fuck does Omega have the fucking robot sounds for every single thing he does in this game? That shit is mad annoying. It's so stupid. I hate it so much.
Yeah, I don't know what they were going for with that one. But either way, Mephiles opens a rift to escape through, with Shadow and Omega follow, which returns them to present-day Soliana and meet up with Rouge again. So, at this point moving forward, we are left to assume that the current present Omega is just off somewhere in a building, I assume, just locked in stasis, and future Omega is with us for the current point moving forward.
Yeah, okay. So if you haven't kind of already started to guess, the time travel shenanigans in this game are fucking stupid, and 90% of them are fucking dumb. So, like, let's be completely honest here, boys. Why do they do a time travel plot in Sonic the Hedgehog? It just doesn't work. It doesn't. I don't get it. It sucks. It's not interesting.
Did they really want to retread Sonic CD of all games?
I mean, I know you're making a bit, but like, I don't think that's the case. I just think that the plot is just all over the place and doesn't know what the fuck it wants to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with time travel stories in general. Unless you really know what you're doing, you can confuse yourself real bad.
Yeah, it's really brutal how quickly you can fuck up a time travel story. And the more time passes, the more confusing the game gets when you're trying to explain it. Honestly, this game is piss easy if you just ignore all the time travel and just go off of, oh, okay, I guess logic. But the second you start to try to piece together what's going on in terms of like a timeline sense, it falls apart entirely. It's not good in that respect.
Rouge also tells Shadow that Eggman's robots are actively hunting him down, but that makes Shadow believe that they really are actually looking for Mephiles. So Shadow chooses to chase after Eggman's train through Radical Train. Again, exact same level design, no need to retread anything. Where in the lead car, Eggman reveals to Shadow that Mephiles is linked to the Solaris project, and will tell him more once Mephiles is contained again.
Dude, by the way, wouldn't the door have been easier?
Yeah, I mean, actually kind of good line read there.
No. Good line. It was pretty funny. I was like, I got a light chuckle. Wouldn't the door have been easier, you know?
I mean, it's
anyways,
a very Dean Bristow style of line read, dare I say.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, outside, Shadow finds Sonic being attacked by Silver, so he steps in to fight on Sonic the Half. Load the clip, load it now. God, the cry is so bad.
Chaos control.
Never gets old. Never
that's
gets
pretty
old.
good.
Never gets
Actually,
old.
wait. I'm sorry. I blinked. I need to see it again.
I need to see him one more time.
Sorry, I sneezed. Hold on. Sorry, I didn't quite get that.
Control.
All right, that's enough. Still pretty good though. Still pretty good.
Yeah, it's been like how many years? It's a fucking classic. So good, man.
Yeah,
so
even
good,
at the
so
Sonic
good.
Symphony, they definitely used that clip correctly.
It was so good when they did that. I was losing my shit. I was like, no fucking way. That's how you know there's ball knowers on that team. You know, you're gonna talk about Sonic 06. You gotta have boots to the head, man. You gotta have boots to the head. That's a classic. Anyways, after the fight, the two accidentally induce dual chaos control, opening a rift, giving Shadow the opportunity to go 10 years into the past to discover the Solaris project for himself, and suggest Silver follow him as well. The two hedgehogs arrive in the past aquatic base and witness the Duke of Soliana fuck up tremendously. Basically, the Solaris project collapses in on itself, revealing that Solaris itself was split in half. Mephiles the mind and Iblis the body. So, Solaris inherently isn't a malicious entity, but because of the experiments the Duke was doing and how badly he fucked up, Mephiles became an evil being. And Solaris, well, became a mindless fire blob monster thing.
It's not really clear exactly how the sequence of events led to Solaris becoming a malignant god, but the fact remains is that's what it is, and that's what we're here doing. So Shadow and Silver go through Aquatic Base separately to chase after their respective half, effectively. Shadow chases after Mephiles, and Silver chases after Iblis. In doing so, however, the Duke of Soliana, who is leading the research project, was gravely injured, as we know, and gives Shadow the Scepter of Darkness to seal Mephiles within it. So as they go through Aquatic Base, again, very similar, if not exactly the same level design here, corners Mephiles and seals him and swears he will not forget Shadow forcing him to suffer like this. So there's our little timeline loop. It has been closed. And Shadow comes outside the lab and meets back with Silver, who's carrying a young Elise, and leaves a Chaos Emerald and the Scepter beside her to be found by the Soliana government later.
Okay. Right. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. So, Shadow and Silver then travel forward in time separately, but they go their own ways. Back in the present, Shadow meets back up with Rouge, telling her he found a way to seal Mephiles again. However, gun sensors have picked up Omega and Wave Ocean, seemingly fighting Mephiles on his own. We do a quick Wave Ocean run back as Omega. It's pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. Then there's a cutscene where Omega just completely goes full Gatling mode and just blasts Mephiles to pieces with as many bullets as humanly possible.
Yeah, but like Mephiles, it just seems like they're just tickling him. They don't really do much of anything. And Mephiles tells Omega that in the future, humans reprogrammed him to fight Shadow and seal him away when they blame him for the Flames of Disaster. I'm gonna be honest, this is so bullshit, I kind of think he's lying.
I also think he's lying.
Omega relays this information to Shadow and Rouge when they find him. Rouge is furious, and though Shadow doesn't show it, he is touched that his friends are concerned for him. Again, very good use of Shadow's character is to show, it's to show not tell. Shadow doesn't want to show that he is glad his friends are there for him, but he doesn't show it. But you know he is grateful.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing. It's stuff like this that's awesome. It really is.
Well, either way, Team Dark now heads to Dusty Desert to pursue Mephiles. And this is kind of like a mishmash of everything Dusty Desert has to offer. You go through the outside segments in the hover carrier, yeah,
so this segment is really easy, but the problem is that your hover carrier can flip over at the press of the wind or a pebble or any sort of geometry hitting it, aka you have to go real slow in order to make sure that you do it right. If you try to go fast, you will get completely fucked over, and the second is infuriating.
You go inside, you go through the little platforming segments of the pyramid, it's all whatever. But when you get through it, and near the end, the pyramid of Dusty Desert, Team Dark finds Mephiles and assumes he seeks the Chaos Emeralds to remerge back with Iblis. And again, Shadow rejects his offer for cooperation and tries to seal Mephiles in the scepter again, but he breaks free, as the power he obtained when copying Shadow's form was enough for him to resist the seal. Now, this goes through the whole boss fight, and it's actually probably one of the best boss fights in the game, let's be honest.
Yeah, but that's not really saying much. It's just kind of whatever, but at least it's a boss fight, right?
Yeah, and it just feels like there's stakes involved, and it's challenging enough. It definitely feels like a final boss for a story, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And, you eventually beat Mephiles, and he tries to seal Mephiles, but he breaks free, as the power he obtained when copying Shadow's form was enough for him to resist the seal. And then, probably one of the best cutscenes in the entire franchise plays. And it's from this game, of all things, so let's watch it together.
Melty.
Yeah, he's Melty Blood. Type Twilumina! No fake Grand Order characters, though, please.
I'll take Saber, though. That's fine.
She's already in the game.
Destroyed!
The Eye of Now absorbed your power through your shadow in the past. What may have worked 10 years ago no longer does. You must realize now that you cannot hope to stop me with your limited power.
So you say.
It's futile. The world will betray you. Why fight at all? Why risk your life for those who will persecute you later?
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
Yeah, it's awesome. That line is probably one of my favorites in the entire series. I mean, I feel like it goes without saying, but like, it's such an emblematic line of Shadow and what he represents, especially at this point. Even if the world becomes my enemy, I will fight like I always have, as he's surrounded by his two closest allies, showing that, yeah, it doesn't really matter if the world betrays him. He fights for the people he cares about, and the people in turn care about him. And he doesn't need the world's approval. He'll still do his own thing as he's always done. And that, to me, is grade A, good character. That's a 10 out of 10 from little old me. This game can cook.
When given the right opportunity and care to do so, yes. And also important to point out that this is the first instance in the games where Shadow removes his inhibitor rings to give himself a power boost, much like in Sonic X. So this was definitely the Yoshimura influence right there.
And that Shadow story, I mean, what have we I feel like we've talked a lot about it, but like, yeah, this is easily the best story in this entire game. Bar none, without question. And I feel like it kind of goes without saying. Everybody who's played Sonic 06 says the same thing. It's always that the story in Shadow's story is the best part of it. The gameplay, whatever, right?
I know we kind of said it kind of degradingly in regards to Meikawa, but yeah, he really did put all of his effort in the story, in Shadow's story, and it really does show. Unfortunately, when you get to the other, Sonic and Silver story, fortunately, that kind of becomes a bit of a down point.
Speaking
of Silver story...
Oh my god. Silver the Hedgehog fucking sucks to play as. I feel like this just, I gotta talk about this, man. Look, it isn't even that the core gameplay is necessarily bad. It's that he's so fucking slow, and that's so fucking dog shit.
Yeah, it's even worse, like, in regards to, like, oh, it's a Sonic game, you want him to have a little bit of speed, and they definitely, when it comes to Silver, they sacrificed his speed for the power he's supposed to have, in theory, but that doesn't even work as well either.
It doesn't even work in the way that it's intended to. So much of his gameplay is just pick up shit, throw, pick up shit, throw. Eventually you get an ability that lets you stun enemies, you pick them up, you throw them to kill them. But honestly, most of my playthrough, at a certain point, I just stopped fighting enemies and I just started walking through whenever I could. Because you're not incentivized to. There's no real reason to most of the time outside of enemy rooms.
Without further ado, Silver's story. So we start... Silver the Hedgehog lives 200 years in the future with psychokinetic powers, and he lives in the ruins of Soleanna, surviving in a world ravaged by Iblis. So, he has psychokinetic powers. It's not explained how he has these powers. It's not clear if these are common in his era or anything like that, but he does fight alongside his one ally, Blaze the Cat. And yes.
So why is Blaze here, bro?
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. You're probably wondering, is this a version of Blaze from Sonic's world, or is this Blaze from Sonic Rush? Ostensibly, this is Blaze from Sonic Rush.
But we don't know because it's never been elaborated on, and it's never going to be elaborated on, because this game is technically not even canon. So nobody fucking knows.
So yes, this is also part of the reason why I say it's not clear if powers like Silver's are common, because of course Blaze, she's pyrokinetic, she can control flames and all that stuff, but again, if she's not from Sonic's world, she's just here for some reason, we don't know what the deal is, and we probably will never know, because Sega refuses to elaborate on Silver's time even after all this shit has occurred. Sega, I fucking hate you so goddamn much.
Whatever, man. Just keep going.
So, he and his ally Blaze, they fight Iblis, the body, every time he resurrects, and they do defeat him every time, but it's only a temporary measure, and they grow frustrated having to do it time and again. However, after this most recent defeat, the two are met by a mysterious figure, Mephiles the Dark, and he offers a solution.
Just as a chicken comes from an egg. I'm sorry. Dan Green talking about chickens coming from eggs always makes me laugh for some reason. It's silly.
Yeah, a lot of classic YouTube poops have come from that line.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
He brings, Mephiles does, Silver and Blaze back to the ruins of Eggman's old base and wrongly blames the release of the Flames of Disaster as Sonic. And when he describes Sonic as a blue hedgehog, Blaze does seem to have some recollection of that. She does catch attention.
Blue hedgehog. It's like, bro, just say something. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I kind of think we need that version of the script where the connections to Russia are more clear, Meikawa. You gotta drop that shit.
Dude, it'd be really funny if he did.
You know what? I hope he just wakes up one day and realizes that all the NDAs he signed have expired and just drops everything he's ever written.
Yeah, the nukes come out and God is real. We'll see it all, man.
Either way, Mephiles sends the three of them 200 years into the past. However, the three are ended up at separate different points, and Silver lands in the present and is surprised to see all the greenery, luscious life around him, but he still seeks the Iblis trigger. And when he sees Sonic running off with Elise in the start of Sonic's story, he is suddenly grabbed by Amy, who mistakes him for Sonic. Why do you keep doing this?
Dude, it's not... I know that the whole point is to harken back to SA2, but it's like... Oh, we also didn't talk about Blaze's gameplay.
She actually is the best character to play as in this fucking game.
She has a higher top speed than Sonic, she actually controls well, and most importantly, her kit is very cohesive. Unfortunately, you only play as her for a total of maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, I would say about 5 minutes. I will say in regards to the Silver Amy interaction here, I do like the little callback that they do in Crossworlds for Silver and Amy.
What do they say in Crossworlds? What's the callback?
It's literally Amy going like to Silver. It's like, I'm going to defeat you this time, Sonic. No, I mean Shadow. Oh, wait, you're Silver. Never mind. And Silver responds, we look nothing alike. Why do you keep doing this?
Wait, good bit. Very good bit.
Yeah. Well, to a miscommunication, Amy offers to help Silver find the person he's looking for, because in her mind, all roads lead back to Sonic, which I guess in this case she's not wrong, so alright.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I guess. Alright, well, it's time to talk about it, so, They follow Sonic through Dusty Desert, but he leaves before they are able to find him. Silver's Dusty Desert.
9/11. Oh no, 9/11. Oh god. Well, for one thing, before we even get to the most notorious part of that stage, Amy's gameplay is also a bit of a headache.
Abysmal! It's awful. She has no run speed. She moves so slow. It is pathetic. And her whole gimmick is that she can turn invisible?
Which perhaps, folks, is in fact a commentary on the status of the modern woman in today's era. Now, in this dichotomy, I will elaborate on... No, look, it's... Why do they do that?
I don't know, man. I really wish I could tell you why. But that's really not why we're here. And why we're taking a pause to really talk about, like, the intricacy of Silver the Hedgehog. Because we need to talk about this ass ball puzzle. You know it. I know it. Everybody fucking knows it. At the end of this stage, after the mechanic being used somewhat sparingly, there is a ball with a set amount of swings that Silver is allowed to use the psychokinesis on. He has to get the ball from one hallway and then another hallway all the way to the end to complete the level. The problem is that the Havoc physics engine does not fucking work, and the game is not programmed correctly to make this work normally. You can do it. It is doable, but it takes so fucking long to do.
Yeah, man, this is quite literally where speedruns go to die.
Yeah. How long, do you ask? Well, my first playthrough of this game, it took about 30 minutes. You heard that right, 30 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds right for me as well.
In my most recent playthrough, 20. And I didn't cheese it. Because there is a glitch you can do using a box that you can essentially use psychokinesis to clip through the end door to not actually have to do the puzzle. But I said, I need the authentic experience. I really need to make sure I fucking suffer. So I did. For your enjoyment and your amusement.
Don't say we didn't do anything for you, folks.
Just dog shit. Abysmal dog shit. Abysmal dog shit. Abysmal dog shit. Horrible, awful, worst part of this game by far. The ball puzzle is really bad, and if any of you ever have the displeasure of actually playing Sonic 06, you will completely and totally understand what I mean. This is what I'm talking about, by the way, when we talk about the revisionist. Guys, it's okay to like something that is considered bad. That's fine. We like Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm kidding, man.
So say that with your whole fucking chest, man. We like Sonic the Hedgehog here.
Hedgehog. We like Sonic the Hedgehog. We like Sonic the Hedgehog here. We can acknowledge that some of our favorite games have some elements that aren't super great. But we cannot have this revisionism around Sonic 06, knowing that there is a puzzle that does not function correctly with the physics of the video game that takes 20 to 30 minutes in a level that is already 5 to 7 minutes long. That actually brings up a great segue. Level length. Why are the levels in this game so fucking long? All of them go on for 3 minutes longer than they have any right to 90% of the time. If we are talking about main character levels, right? Do you agree with me?
Yeah, no, a lot of those extended segments do have to do with when you're playing through as the Amigo characters, and they do offer like a good break and a nice mix up to the gameplay, I will admit that. But those segments do kind of go on for a lot longer than needed. And then compound that in this level specifically with the ball puzzle, you just kind of want to stop everything and go, what the hell am I doing? Is this really worth it?
Exactly. And that's really the fundamental core problem with Sonic 06. Too much time is spent in the level. Too much time is spent dicking around. It doesn't feel snappy enough. It doesn't feel like there's enough interesting things going on. You can make the argument that, yeah, the level design is kind of built around that, and it's supposed to be about spectacle and this and that, but it's like the game's pace isn't in service of it. It's too long for its own fucking good. It doesn't fundamentally work. And this fucking ball puzzle is like exhibit A about why this game's level design is not good. And I don't care what people say. I'm sorry. At a certain point, we have to be honest with ourselves, guys. It's okay. I'm the Michael Jackson putting down the gun gif. It's okay, guys. We can admit when something isn't very good. It's okay. The revisionism can stop. Take a deep breath.
Please, folks. Please, for the love of God. Well, after you get through that, by some miracle you manage to get through that, Silver goes on his own and intercepts Sonic and fights him in the city, which of course leads Eggman to kidnap Elise once again. And Amy comes to stop Silver from doing the finishing blow. Moves on, and he does go off on his own, and Silver does think about the morality of his mission. And also,
Okay,
I did kind of fail to mention about Amy's sort of role in that as well, because Amy has a line of dialogue that in the past people clown on her, but I am going to defend this like line here. Not just from Amy's character, but like from just the writing as a whole. Because Silver explains to Amy in the moment that like Sonic is effectively responsible for the destruction of the world in the future. And Amy's just sort of like, she doesn't necessarily believe that Silver is wrong. Like she believes that he believes that. But Amy's concern is more so like, no, listen, if the world is going to turn against Sonic, I am going to stand with Sonic. And that shows more of her conviction more than anything. And I respect the fuck out of that.
Yeah, I also do too. I think that's a fair line, and that's not necessarily bad writing. Ironically enough, right? The cutscene that comes after this is also one of the few moments in Silver's story that I would actually consider good. Because my issue with Silver's story is that it's a lot of running in circles. Nothing happens in a different way than Sonic, right? Sonic's story, nothing happens because the plot doesn't actually move forward and we don't learn anything. Shadow's story is where we actually get the bulk of what's going on. Silver's story is Iblis Trigger. And that's it. Like, for most of it. But there is a pretty good cutscene that is about to play out here. By the way, Blaze goes through Wave Ocean. This is like a 2 to 3 minute segment. It's like one of the best levels in the whole game because you're playing as Blaze and she feels like surprisingly good to play. So like whatever. Okay. But there's a cutscene where Silver and Blaze get to meet up again in the present. And they start talking about the morality of what they're doing. Is it right to kill somebody to save the world?
Moreover, is it right to kill somebody who has not committed the crime yet?
And this is a relatively interesting like line of thinking, which is unfortunately immediately dismissed by Blaze as Silver being quote unquote naive, at least in the English translation. And I think it's such a sad way of looking at it, right?
Right. I mean, like, we know what Blaze's character is, and it's not clear whether this is a pre or post Rush Blaze. But the fact is, like, we know what her character is, and I don't not believe she would have that line of thinking, especially what her character is. But in context of the game itself and what the message of the game is trying to be, yeah, it kind of does undermine the message, does it not?
Yeah, it really does.
Either way, no matter how you take it, they decide they need to know more about this supposed Iblis Trigger and go through White Acropolis in the present. Silver fights the Egg Genesis there, and they get Elise's Chaos Emerald, which Blaze tells Silver that the Chaos Emeralds are able to transform thoughts into power. So again, I also need to say here, we don't know that much about Silver's time, and considering the fact that he doesn't know what the Chaos Emeralds are, something happened to them in his future, and that's something that does seem to be consistent in Silver's future appearances in the series.
God, I wish we knew more about what happened to Silver.
Sega, come on, man. I know this isn't the place to talk about it, but like, the IDW con should be a perfect place to show Silver's future. Why won't you fucking let them do it?
But we're never getting that! We're never getting that. Sega hates us. That's why. Anyways, let's talk about something else, aka how boring the story is.
Mephiles comes across them again and tells Silver that Sonic is at Radical Train and pursues him. With him and Blaze separated because of a security lockdown, Silver is forced to go away on his own and interrupts Sonic, again letting Elise get kidnapped by Eggman, and this time is faced by Shadow. And of course he confuses him for Mephiles. And yeah, I forgot what happened in that story. What happened again?
Oh, yeah, what happened again? One more time? I missed it, I blanked.
Control!
I'm sorry, I have amnesia. What happened?
Chaos control!
Alright, I got it now.
Alright. Now I remember.
Anyway.
We're such chuckle fucks sometimes, man. I swear to God. We're
What do you want
fuckers.
from me? Look at this game, man. What do you want from me?
We have to find joy somewhere.
Anyway, so after the two fight, they then go in 10 years in the past. Again, they witness Mephiles emerging from Solaris, and Silver now understands the mistake that he made, and Silver leaves past Mephiles to Shadow as he hunts down Iblis, and finds the Duke performing a sealing ritual, pulling the flames of disaster, Iblis itself. Originally, he was going to put it in his own body, but the flames reject him and forced to put him into the body of his 10-year-old daughter, Elise, with the line saying, "Elise, whatever you do, don't cry," which is a insane thing to tell a little girl.
Pause. Okay. The Iblis trigger being the idea that Elise cannot cry because the tears that she produces will somehow trigger the flames of disaster is the stupidest plot point in this whole game. And that's saying something. I cannot fucking stand it. I think it is so dumb that the whole idea is, oh, Elise, you must not cry. Then you will unleash the flames of disaster. Is like...
It's insane. Now, here's the thing, folks. It's our favorite word when talking about Sonic 06. If this was a different kind of story, where it was in Sonic's story, let's say, it is Elise being forced to grow up with an insane sense of stoicism that her sense of self has literally been, like, stunted. And through the story of her meeting Sonic, and she comes out of her shell, and she discovers the sense of self that she was denied, would be crazy. It would be very beautiful, especially when it's recontextualized through that scene. Unfortunately, Meikawa has a favorite son. Look, I'll be honest. Okay, you know what? Maybe it's not fair to blame Meikawa. I'll be completely honest. I know it's a bit here, but like, still though, like, what we have is very lacking. And I know Yoshimura did her... Look, I really do genuinely think that Yoshimura did a lot more than Meikawa is letting on. And all she really did was just small little tweaks because she could not move around like what Meikawa had.
Yeah, man. Like, what do you want me to say, bro? It's like, I don't know, man.
After the ritual is done, the Duke asks Silver to bring her outside of the facility. So, goes back through, Silver meets back with Shadow outside, they leave the Scepter of Darkness and the Chaos Emerald, and Silver tells Elise that it is a lucky charm. Never lose it. And once they go back into the present, Silver meets with Blaze and tells her, Sonic's not the real problem here. Blaze tells him Eggman kidnapped Elise again and thinks he's trying to release Iblis. So they rush through Kingdom Valley to help Sonic save her. Unable to do so, use dual Chaos Control to send Sonic back in time a day to save her.
We also have to talk about the fact that Kingdom Valley as Silver is like a 15-minute level.
Yeah, I don't know what they were cooking, folks.
Bro, and it's even worse because Flame Core is like 10 to 15 minutes as well.
Yeah, the
So
levels
it's 30
of
minutes,
takes so
30 minutes
fucking
of
long, man.
30 minutes of fucking gameplay for no reason.
Yeah, they were... Look, at minimum, they should have altered the level design for the other characters. But, like, look, they probably literally didn't even have time to do that. That probably was on the checklist, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah,
that's the problem when talking about this game, man. You just have to wonder, is it incompetence, or could they just literally not do what they wanted? I can't tell sometimes.
Both. That's both. It'll always be both. And that's the problem. We will never fully know. So we always have to say both. You'll never know if it's them being fucking stupid or if it's them not having enough time. It can be both. Both is the answer.
Kingdom Valley, they go through dual Chaos Control. On their end, though, through the rift, they go back to their own time to fight Iblis and seal him off for good. So Flame Core, as we said, long-ass level. It does end in a very funny way, though, because Silver gets through what we assume is, like, the core of the volcano, and what we assume is, like, Iblis's power source, which is, like, unguarded, it's just a ball of lava that Silver goes around and on top of to just, like, drain its power, I guess? And that leaves Iblis susceptible to be defeated? They could have done this the whole time, I guess?
Nah, man, we just decided that we can't. I don't know. You tell me. I have no fucking clue. Anyways, who fucking cares? They go, they fight Iblis, they beat Iblis, yippee yahoo, whatever, right? So basically, Silver tries to seal the flames of disaster within himself. The flames then reject him. Blaze, however, offers to sacrifice herself to do it, as her soul is already cursed by flame. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? You tell me, because I sure as shit don't know. A little more won't make a difference. However, she also tells Silver to use Chaos Control to send her and the flames to a different dimension. We don't know if this is the soul dimension or not. We'll never know. I'm not gonna speculate on it. Let's just fucking assume. Sure, why not? I don't know, man. Fuck this game. Anyways, afterwards, Silver is reluctant to do it and refuses to doom his friend. However, Blaze does it herself, apparently taking on her burning form very briefly to do it, but the game doesn't really show it. Do you see what we mean, by the way? Like what was happening? Like, what is this?
Maykawa, where are your answers? You decided to give us the original version of Sonic Heroes. Give us the original version of 06.
Anyways, she fades away, leaving Silver alone, but opening the clouds to let the sun shine down for the first time in 2 centuries. Great! Awesome. Fucking all 3 stories done. Oh, wait, there's last story. Oh, man. Oh, man, do I have some shit to say. You know what, Alberto? Let's just, are we gonna watch it? Are we just gonna watch the scene?
Give me 1 second. This is I'm sorry, just the title of this is very funny. All right, I found it.
All right, okay. You should get the all right, just play it. Just play it, man. Now, okay, this is a great encapsulation of this game. Now loading.
It's true, folks.
Oh, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Man, the cutscenes look so crunchy, man.
Well, this is a horrible rip.
Yeah, but it's... You know, the low quality of this really enhances it, in my opinion.
Type shit, twin. Type shit.
Sonic! Sonic!
Oh, the subtitles are in Russian. That's even better.
Yo! Look at this music!
That's some Castlevania-ass organ, man.
Bro, Mephiles could have done this at any point in the story. And he just said, I'm good, man. Remember, don't cry, no matter what happens. All right, dude. Please kill yourself.
No!
Finally, the seal is broken. At long last, I'll be able to join with you. Iblis! Now, Chaos Emerald. It's time for the final curtain call.
I hope you guys enjoyed the most incomprehensible cutscene in this entire franchise.
So, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna say this right now. So, Mephiles could have done this at any point whatsoever, by the way. But he just randomly decides at this moment specifically, nah, man, I'll just kill him. Fuck it, why not, right? It's so fucking stupid. And it's so funny that their idea was, fuck it, kill him. That's how we get her to cry. Just fucking kill him. And Sonic dying being a real thing in this game is the funniest thing ever. Like, it's actually not real. It's just not real, bro. It's so fake. It's such fucking Mickey Mouse bullshit. It's... Thank God this game is not canon. Thank God. Just thank God.
I don't understand. Like, look, Mikawa, could you really not think of anything else? Yoshimura, you know what? I'm not blaming her for anything. This could not have been fixed.
You can't fix it. You can't fix this. And we are defending this game in 2026. Be so for real, man. Be so for real. Please, God, be so for real. Yeah, for the love of God, man. Anyways, so Flames of Disaster are released after that hysterical ass cutscene. Dusty Desert, Team Dark has defeated all the Mephiles clones. Shadow puts back on his inhibitor rings. They try to grab their green and yellow emeralds, then suddenly they disappear in a flash. So we don't understand how the fuck this happens, but Mephiles gets all 7 emeralds. Where does he get the other ones from? Remind me. Do you remember? Because I sure don't.
Yeah, because if I can recall, the only emeralds that are really, like, relevant to the story are the blue, green, yellow, purple, and I think that's it. Oh, the white one I think is also like thrown in there as well. I think Silver has the white one. So yeah, the azure and I think the red one are just nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, but he just has all 7 apparently. All right, cool, whatever. Anyways, Mephiles appears over the city of Soliana using all several emeralds, merging with Iblis, returning to his true form, the sun god Solaris. We see the people of the world engulfed with a blinding light. And then Tails, Knuckles, and Amy are left behind in a broken void alongside Team Dark, Silver, and Eggman, having survived the ejection process from the egg carrier, and find Elise cradling Sonic's body. So essentially, Eggman explains that because Mephiles has somehow taken control of Solaris, and also because of the fucked up nonsense that the Duke did, Solaris is essentially a god that is trying to consume all timelines and is going to cause reality to collapse in on itself. Defeating him, however, is pointless. Solaris is an omnitemporal being, aka he exists in all points of time at all times, meaning that the only way to defeat him is to literally undo him from existence somehow. Silver, however, will not give up. Seeking Solaris can be defeated in the past, present, and future all at once. Shadow, however, says the plan is only possible if Sonic is alive. However, and I still don't understand how this is a thing, but Elise feels the wind blow past her and thinks Sonic somehow is still alive around us. Okay, I guess. Silver then thinks perhaps he can be revived with the power of the Chaos Emeralds. This then leads the 7 of them to split off into the void and search for the scattered Chaos Emeralds in the final and absolutely worst level, the end of the world. What is the end of the world? It is a fucking disaster. That is what it is. Essentially, they reuse assets from all of the game's levels minus Aquatic Base and Flame. No, not Flame Core.
Yeah, I have the list here. So
okay.
You go through it as each of the remaining playable characters left, so minus Sonic and Blaze here, but you start as Crisis City with Tails, then Flame Core as Omega, then Tropical Jungle as Knuckles, then Dusty Desert as Silver, Wave Ocean as Rouge, White Acropolis as Amy, and then Shadow and Kingdom Valley. Now, the kind of bit about this game is that reality is sort of collapsing as they go through it, finding the Chaos Emeralds. So randomly, the game will spawn in these orbs that are black holes effectively, and has gravity pulling in the player character. And if you touch it, you insta-die.
This can lead to a lot of bullshit because alongside this, the colors of the level start to distort. You have to tap these like Soliana, like orbs in order to revert things. It's like you're on a timer almost. But the problem is that the longer you don't touch one, the more fucked up the level gets, the more of the fucking Sauron eyes spawn in, and the more fucked up gravity wells happen. Now, there are certain characters that get to avoid this almost entirely. Rouge can basically fly over the entire level. Omega has a really funny fucking tech that you can do where you can basically just like go to the first part of this level, jump, and then mash the hover button to just glide, clip through the wall, and then just win the level in maybe like 20 seconds tops. It's pretty good. I do that. I didn't want to play anymore. On top of this, but then there are characters like Silver and Amy that have to deal with the bullshit of the gravity, while Silver's segment is abhorrent, by the way. Oh my god. And you have to deal with the push, and it's just so awful. The level design is just so boring, and it feels like artificial difficulty in the worst way possible. It's not even fun, it's just frustrating. So I can't stand this finale. You die a lot of very bullshit deaths that don't feel like the player's fault. Half the time, you feel like you're fighting against the controls, something you're already naturally doing, but it's even worse now. And the level design is just all over the place with these fuck-ass, stupid, goddamn eyeballs everywhere. Thank God. By the way, this is like an 8-minute level. If you lose all your lives, you're back to the beginning of the whole gauntlet. Horrendous. Genuinely.
Yeah, oh god, and your reward for going through this gauntlet is a cutscene that I think play it, you know.
Oh, Chaos Emeralds, Gems of Miracles, please heed my call. I wish to save this world. I wish to cleanse my father's sin. And
I don't know, man. I think you're about to create a lot more sins.
Once again. You have given me so many things.
Bro, chill.
Now it is my time to return the favor.
Girl, I don't think you gotta do all that.
To me. But please heed my voice. Sonic, come back. To me. To us.
Knuckles just in the background, bro. Fuck this shit, man.
Yeah, I didn't expect that, but you know, all right. That
you know, good bit. Thank you,
Tails. Anakoku uploaded 11 years ago. Thank you. All right.
Good bit. Anyways, so yeah, maybe the most insane scene in this entire franchise, and that is saying something, considering some of the fucking crazy ass scenes we've gotten in this franchise. But you know, when people talk about Sonic 06, they talk about a lot of different things. They talk about the bad gameplay. They talk about the fucking weird story. They talk about everything. No. This is what they talk about.
Yeah.
They talk about it nonstop.
Listen, Meikawa, what the fuck is wrong with you? I do not blame Yoshimura for this at all. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Okay, so like, I get the intent.
No, I do genuinely understand what the intention of the scene was. The problem is the presentation.
Yep, it's entirely in the presentation. The whole idea is supposed to be, oh, he's saved by a kiss from the princess who he has helped. So in turn, she is giving back to him. It is not.
It's not done the right way, folks.
It's not done the right way.
It opens a door. It opens a door that Sega has bolted shut, and if anyone even dares to look in that direction, they beat them over the head with a sock full of quarters.
Sock? Excuse me. You mean bullet to the back of the head?
That too. The sock is just for their entertainment.
Yeah, anyways, this shit is fucking crazy, and I still can't believe this made it to print. By the way, Knuckles in the background there is very funny. He's literally just being like, he's in the cuck chair, bro. Like, all right, bro, like, chill the fuck out.
That's crazy.
Nah, man,
That's crazy.
Somebody pointed out to me last night, because I took a screen cap of it, and someone was like, dude, why is Knuckles in the cuck chair right now? I'm like, damn, man, that's crazy. Anyways,
that's not even saying what Amy feels about it in this situation.
Yeah. Anyways, well, after your lovely reward, you actually have the final boss of the game. So Sonic is now in Super State and uses the power of the emeralds to give them to Shadow and Silver, giving them their Super States. This is also Super Silver's first canonical appearance. I don't like the way Super Silver looks in this game. I think he looks really weird and jank. Basically, the three of them fly off towards Solaris to fight the god off in the past, Shadow, the present, Sonic, and the future, Silver. So the Solaris boss fight is acceptable. Is the nicest thing I could say. It's not bad. It's basically just you break off the armor with Silver, and then you break off the armor with Shadow, and then you use Sonic and you ram into him for phase 1. And then for phase 2, you basically swap between all three while you deal damage bit by bit, and you wear him down. The fight is boring. It's not really eventful. It's just kind of whatever, right?
Yeah, for a super boss fight, it's really bare bones and basic, you know?
I mean, but at the very least, I could say this. It's functional.
You know what? We're talking about Sonic 06. I think that is a positive and a compliment to this game. It fucking works.
Yeah, and it's a whatever ending to this game. Game's over. You did it. You beat the final boss. Congratulations. You two now have suffered the burden of beating Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. So, destroying the body of Solaris makes time revert back to the beginning of this whole incident, leading Sonic and Elise in a dark void and seeing Solaris back when it was only a small candle flame. Their decision now is to blow out the candle. However, if the flame does not exist, then nothing actually happens in the story. Elise will never meet Sonic and does not want to lose the memory of him. I don't care about the world, Sonic. I just want to make sure I remember you, or something like that, right?
Which, look, again, much like the Amy line, you're supposed to feel sympathetic toward her, and I do feel sympathetic towards Elise, because, look, you know what, guys? I'm not defending that scene at all, but I will defend this. You live a fucking insane sheltered life and you meet someone like Sonic the Hedgehog who quite literally sweeps you off your feet and gives you a fucking day or two of adventure. Yeah, you want to keep them in your life as long as possible. I do not blame Elise at all for the feelings that she feels. She's literally a teenage girl. Give her a fucking break.
But it comes after the kiss scene. It just makes
yeah,
it,
that just makes it worse. Like
I know.
I get it. Yeah, no, I know.
Sonic that hits her with the nicest. I'm not into this girl. I'm sorry, Elise. Just smile. And it's like, all right, man. Okay. And she, with tears in her eyes, blows out the candle, erasing the entire events of this game, top to bottom. Thank fucking God.
And thus the game ends back to the festival we saw at the start of the game. Now you're probably wondering, what kind of festival is this if they don't have a sun god to worship? Shut the fuck up, kid. Sonic runs through the city, causing a gust of wind to catch Elise and blows away a feather in her hair. And Elise feels like someone familiar was calling to her as Sonic watches the festival from the rooftop as Elise's feather blows towards him. And that is the end of the game, folks. The end of Sonic 06. Congratulations. You've beaten one of the worst video games of all time. And what do you get for it? Nothing. The game erases itself. It was all for nothing.
Guys, we're at 3 hours now, by the way. I hope you're excited to know that we are officially at 3 hours of recording, and we're still not fucking done. We still have so much more to talk about.
That's right, folks. So, now we ask ourselves...
Wait. Before we go, if you could give this game a number rating, what would it be?
In a true objectivist sense.
Yeah, let's listen, Alberto. I need you to lock in right now for me, twin. I need you to just look me dead in the eyes, and I need you to be the most honest you've ever been in your entire life. Cut the bullshit, bro.
This game, 4 out of 10. That's the kindest I can be. Like 4
nah,
out of 10. You know what? No, listen.
It's a 3. It's a 3. It's a 3, bro. It's like a 3. I feel like a 3 is way more fair to this game. A 4 is too close to 5, which implies mid, but like a 3 I think is completely there. Are there moments where Sonic 06 is playable? Sure. But for the most part, the game is bad, the story is bad, the writing is mostly bad, and it feels like it just sits on its fucking ass and jerks off all over itself while trying to have something meaningful to say when it can't, because there's nothing to actually say half the time.
I think the 3 is the more fair number, because I think genuinely, once you reach the Elise kiss scene, it's just sort of like, what the fuck am I doing?
Exactly. Like, what the fuck is going on right now? It's like, whatever. Anyways, yeah, this game sucks, and we'll talk more about revisionism later on, but right now, let's take a deep breath. We've been talking for a while. I'm getting mad for no reason. So, let's anchor ourselves back down to reality, children. Let's try and talk a little bit about some other aspects of this game. Specifically, is Sonic 06 canon? All I'm going to say is, no.
Well, yeah. So technically, the game never happened because all the story, the blowout of the candle, she's no longer carrying the flame. It's sad, fucked up. Look, the game's events did not occur. However, there is a genuine ambiguity on if those involved remembered the game's events. So, of course, we see the game's ending imply that Sonic and Elise remember at least what they experienced together, somewhat, in some capacity. That's what it's implied. However, on an objectivist front, we can look to Sonic and Shadow Generations because it is explicitly saying in that game, the game's events did happen, despite being erased. When you rescue Blaze from Sonic's white space outside of Crisis City, she does say flat out, it has been a long time since I have been in Crisis City. And when you are in Shadow's side and you fight Mephiles, he explicitly says he wants to escape white space and return to the existing timeline.
On top of this, he also deliberately taunts Shadow for not remembering him, right? And actively fucks with him over it. Like, oh, what, you don't remember me? You don't remember what we did? You don't remember the fun times we had? Let's play a game of Shadow Tag, right? Like, it's okay. Here's the take, right? Here's the take. Are you ready for the take? I'm going to give you the take. Sonic 06 did not happen, but in the context of white space, which is a world broken and divorced from time, it did happen. Because Mephiles exists in a world pulled out of time. Of course he does, because it's a broken timeline. So he has to exist in some regard, right? Because it's a dead timeline, a broken timeline, a timeline that technically never exists, because Mephiles never existed to begin with. But in white space, where all that shit is nonsense and time doesn't actually make any sense, yeah, he can exist.
Yeah, and I mean, in regards to Sonic Generations, I don't remember where I read this because I could never find like a proper source to channel back from this. But in Sonic Generations, we do remember that there is only one cutscene in Chemical Plant where Sonic and Tails like recollect themselves in that area, since that was the place where they first met. There was a rumor that all the stages were supposed to have cutscenes like that, and they just were never done. But the strongest one was that Crisis City was also supposed to have a cutscene there as well. What was supposed to be there, we don't know. But the fact remains is that, yeah, in the context of white space, yeah, broken timeline, it makes sense that it's there. However, as for Sonic himself, it's not consistent as to whether or not he fully remembers Sonic 06. When he meets Silver again in Sonic Rivals, obviously he doesn't remember him at all. However, Sonic has an exchange with Silver in the Japanese version of Team Sonic Racing, and it goes as follows. So Sonic starts, "You've come all this way from the future, so let's just take this chance to enjoy a race. You're right, there's no point in getting concerned now. What happened to all your energy from where we first met? Weren't you like, I will destroy you? I don't recall ever saying anything like that. Well, the race is about to start, let's rock." So,
okay, I guess.
That's another weird oddity there. And also, I also threw this in for fun. During one of the Bumblecast, Ian Flynn's podcast, back in the day, he was asked if Sonic remembers being killed by Mephiles, and apparently he does not, but that's largely because he never actually met Mephiles during the events of the game. We know we brought this up again, but I need to stress the fact that the core driving force of this game was not met by the title character. Incredible stuff, Shiro Maekawa. Thanks again.
Bro, these motherfuckers want to pretend that Shiro Maekawa is a flawless writer, and yet he gave us stuff like this. Look, man. Even LeBron has off day.
No, it's true. It's true, folks. It's true. And I mean, if we're going to talk about Ian Flynn as well, I didn't write this, but there is also the question of, like, what Blaze's role exactly is in this game. And he has said before, like, back when, like, the lore team was being built up and all that, apparently Ian did ask, I don't know if he asked Maekawa or Izuka or who specifically, but he did say he did get an answer as to how Blaze is in the events of 06 and how it can be bridged with with Sonic Rush. He did get an answer, and his response to it was more like, why didn't I think of this? But he says he cannot say what the answer was.
But why? This is what I'm talking about, right? Who fucking cares? Just fucking tell us.
Look, man, I know we've talked about this again, but they really need to figure out all this lore shit, book it to a T, and release a Hyrule Historia-style book about this series, man. It's fucking maddening.
I don't know, man. I'm so tired. I'm so tired, bro. I'm so tired of this bit.
So we talked a little bit at the beginning about beta elements as to what the scope of the game was intended to be had they had more time, and I guess, I don't know, fucking Jesus, God, and the Buddha on their side. Sonic 06, notorious for a lot of elements left behind from the final game, a lot of which we can infer what the original scope was going to be. The biggest hints come from extracted text from the game's files. The most famous example was from a text line from Sonic's Gem Shop, which just read, 3 question marks, you'll need to buy it to see what it does. So this was supposed to be the Super Gem, a gem that gives Sonic his super form and lets you play as Super Sonic in the action stages. Would have been the first time in maybe at least like 5-ish years, more so, that lets you play as Super Sonic in the regular stages. That's what it would have been. It was not coded incorrectly. So if you hack it in, you can buy it, you can put it on Sonic, and all it really does is play the animation of him going into his super form, but that's it. Doesn't really do anything beyond that.
Wow, incredible.
There are also text lines saying that the other character's moveset could be upgraded as well, ranging from Shadow's Chaos Sphere to Silver's range of his telekinesis. You could also buy music from previous Sonic games, such as Sonic 1, 2, 3, Adventure 1 and 2, Heroes, Riders, and weirdly enough, Sonic R. And I say that because the rights to that game's music is kind of in question, but you know what? Good on them for being ambitious, I suppose.
I guess, you know. The game was also going to have a super hard difficulty mode. A very hard mode exists as DLC, but super hard was never implemented. The game does have side quests. Each stage is supposed to have a secondary set of objectives, similar to mission mode in SA2. Set number of rings, finding Chow, having to beat a time attack ghost. Just kind of the general stuff you would expect from a mission mode. I guess they wanted more emblems or like something akin to that. The mission text also suggests Metal Sonic was going to be playable in mission mode with his own set of missions. This would have been kind of cool. There's a DLC episode called Team Attack Amigo in which Tails, Blaze, and Omega go through a set of stages. This may have been a leftover of a previous idea for the game in which every secondary character would have gotten their own story following the respective main character, Sonic, Shadow, and Silver, as there was text saying that there are additional episodes and missions would have been unlockable for each respective character. Sorta akin to Adventure 1, but I guess it was too ambitious, which I makes sense.
Yeah, the multiplayer tag mode in which characters work together to reach the goal at the end of a stage originally had a story element to it, where Sonic and Shadow were rushing to get the Chaos Emeralds before Eggman. There are unused voice lines for them between them in this mode, and unused animations of Sonic riding the buggy as Shadow drives it. And before this game was released, a master script was leaked and given to a Sonic fan site called Sonic Cult. This was an old Sonic fan site run by weirdos. We are glad they are gone.
How weird are we talking here?
Think the people that ran Sonic Retro turned up to 11.
I see. All right, well, that's all I needed to hear. Anyways.
So this script was containing cutscene scripts, a development timeline, and character bios in both Japanese and English. The title of this document was Sonic Tasks _all_script. Sonic Next was the development code for this project, for the record. This is where it was revealed that Silver's original name was Venice, and Princess Elise was originally named Aliga.
I fucking hate Aliga as a name. Silver was also never meant to be a hedgehog. Originally, he was going to be a mink, and he was going to be orange. What a weird timeline we would have lived in.
A society. I don't know, man.
I don't know, something like that.
But hey, look, I kind of get why they made him a hedgehog. It makes sense, all things considered.
It does.
Now, I did sort of transcribe some of the character bios here. I do want to say that while we're going to read them out, these are not necessarily intended to be canon. These are just reference points for Sonic Team to follow when writing and building the characters for whatever story they are crafting. Sonic, described as a creature of will, lives by his own rules, but even though he seems like a careless free spirit, he is more than what he seems when come down to the wire. That's basic stuff. I think we can all expect that. Tails' skills and mechanics are said to be on par with Eggman's, but he does not give himself enough credit for his own work. Again, par for the course, we expect that. I do like how Knuckles is described here, whereas if Sonic is like the wind, Knuckles is like the mountain ever fixed in place. Very apt way to describe Knuckles.
Yeah, I like that. I like that description of him.
It also doubles down on Knuckles being a treasure hunter, master of martial arts, and his destiny to watch over the Master Emerald as the last of the Echidna tribe. He is also said to be the only person able to directly control the Master Emerald. We do know that, but the games never really elaborate on that.
I mean,
as of late, there have been some like extra stuff, like the Tails Tube stuff, that does elaborate a little bit on that and how Knuckles feels about the power that he has over the Master Emerald. But we have not gotten much elaboration in that front.
Yeah, it feels a bit odd, I guess is the right way I can say. That being said, last of the echidnas, well, I'll stop. Shadow's character in bio is what we saw in SA2 and Heroes. However, it is noted that it is not clear if Shadow still harbors the murderous traits he had before he lost his memory. I guess it would make sense that he kind of lost those after coming to terms with himself and sort of, dropping that as one of the parts of maybe who he felt he was.
Right.
Rouge actually has a relatively long bio here. He said that she is both a self-serving spy, but also a special classification of federal agent, answering only to the president of the United Federation. It's also noted that when it appears she is single-track minded when it comes to jewels, she's actually a very cold and calculating individual, interestingly enough. Her bio does say that in the games, she shows some interest in Shadow, but in Sonic X, she has a love-hate relationship with Knuckles. It's also really strange how they reference Sonic X for Rouge. Kind of tells me that maybe Sega was willing to incorporate elements from Sonic X into the games, which is probably why they had Yoshimura write the game with Meikawa in retrospect, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the only logic I have here, because it's like, Sonic X is the only, I guess, Sonic media, at least at the time, where Sega of Japan had direct control over the project, so I'm not surprised they want to incorporate some stuff, in addition to the fact that Sonic X also was insanely popular when it was airing. Let's also not forget that.
Yeah. It's well, at least in Japan, right? In America,
well in America, yes, but also like in Japan, it was well received.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Silver's bio was temporary as his character was still being fleshed out, but basically it just outright says that he's fucking future Trunks.
Blaze's bio, in my opinion, incredibly fascinating. So it does outright say that she is from another dimension, and she does have the Soul Emeralds with her during the events of the game. So, again, we don't know what the deal is, but there's some hints there. It also says she basically plays the role of both Sonic and Knuckles in her world. Also, it's described that she's supposed to be wearing a cape, which I think is a translation error because I think they mean a cloak or a shawl to cover her body as she could not control her flames when she was younger. I find this incredibly fascinating because she's never shown with anything like that in the games. However, there is one singular panel in the IDW comics which shows Blaze wearing a cloak that matches that description set in a flashback before the events of Sonic Rush.
Okay.
It is such a minute detail, but it stood out. The bio also mentions she has a complex about her having a flat chest. I am going to beat whoever wrote this.
Shiro Meikawa, maybe. Anyways, Amy's bio basically described her as Team Sonic's cheerleader, but she's able to move about independently compared to the team working as a group. Also, it's described that Sonic does treat her more like baggage, but may in fact reciprocate her feelings. This is something that around this era they were playing with, because Sonic X also kind of has some stuff that is like adjacent to this, which I guess they've completely moved away from. But I like it.
We can reincorporate this stuff. It's not, there's a way. There's ways. There's ways.
Elias' bio describes her backstory as we saw it play out in the game, but is noting that meeting Sonic is what made her feel as if her soul was truly set free. Now, let me say something real quick. That line is not inherently a bad thing, and I think that it would actually be very interesting if, in some context, if in an insane world, if she ever comes back I think it would be really cool to maybe kind of lean into that angle of her feeling trapped and then finally being able to get set free from being trapped by being able to go on an adventure. But again, that's just me, and I feel like you could remove all the romantic undertones, and that could be the thing that would really, like, help her get out of her shell, IMO, right?
Right. I mean, it also goes back to what I said earlier about, like, maybe there was a rough draft where the feelings Elise had were more, like, shown and more, like, put up front about how she was forced to be, like, more reserved and restrained when she was growing up, and that made her not have a true sense of self, and meeting Sonic is what was able to give her a sense of identity, and that's why at the end of the story, she does not want to give up she doesn't want to blow out the flames of disaster or whatever, because that feels like she is giving up her sense of self.
Yeah, exactly. And that to me would be way more interesting of a character for her and all of the associated stuff involving her. I would vastly prefer this as opposed to whatever the fuck we got in the final game. This one always makes me laugh. So Eggman's bio is exactly like Sonic Heroes, which doubles down on him being a romanticist and a feminist. But feminist is a direct translation, but the word in Japanese technically is closer to the English word womanizer. But look, all I'm saying is Eggman ain't risen up anyone. That motherfucker's a feminist with a 300 IQ, all right? Eggman is a fucking world-conquering scientist, but he #respects women's rights.
I mean, honestly, I kind of think that, look, they don't ever explore that in the games, and I don't think they ever will, but I think it would be insanely funny, and it kind of does make sense if he has, like, this more suave Look, I think saying suave instead of romanticist would make more sense. If he was, like, a Gomez Adams type of character, I think that would be insanely fascinating to play off of.
I think it would be really funny if that was if they just randomly decided to lean into that for no reason. It'd be godlike. Mephiles and Iblis are described as the mind and body of Solaris, respectively. Iblis is the flame of Solaris, having been sealed away in Elise's body. One thing they do mention that's kind of interesting is that the bio implies that a lot of Mephiles' behavior stems from taking on Shadow's form in particular. Maybe kind of the whole idea of him being like, you know, the more nihilist, like, self that he maybe once inhibited. SA2, maybe, Gerald's programming, all that stuff, right? You know?
Right, but again, like, the game never really shows that. The game doesn't even really imply that's the case. You kind of have to piece it together if that's what you end up, like, you know, deliberating on in the end. But, I don't know, if there was a version of Sonic 06 that explained that undertone, that's another story for another time.
Anyways, we have a section in here about Project 06. However, the length of this video is already absurdly long, and I want to play Project 06 one more time before we make that fucking piece. So, we have decided that we are going to be cutting this little section away from this video, and we will be including it in a little mini video that will be coming out shortly after this, to talk briefly about Project 06, some of the positives, some of the negatives, and I guess sort of the overall legacy of what it has done to Sonic 06 as a whole and the discussion around it. Before we start talking about the revisionism, which I think is something that is going to take up a significant portion of this video, I don't think it's going to be that long, but it is something that is very important. We want to talk about fun facts about the game. So between the 360 and the PS3 version, the PS3 version technically runs faster, but it also has a less stable frame rate. The frame rate for cutscenes in the PS3 version is also locked to 30 FPS as opposed to unlocked 60 on the 360, which results in an audio desync on the 360 version of the game.
And the PS3 version does not have achievements, which internally are called trophies, because those were implemented in a system update in 2008. Lol, Lamau. And Sonic 06 is the only 360 game to run at a full 60 frames per second natively, rip Unleashed.
I have no words. That's pathetic.
It took 2 generations for the potential of Unleashed to be truly shown. That's all I'll say. My most interesting fact is that in the scene when Mephiles is telling Silver and Blaze about the Iblis trigger, the Japanese script actually has a double entendre here. When Blaze says blue hedgehog, the Japanese word for blue is aoi. But aoi also means naive. Thus, aoi hedgehog, which is what she says, refers to both Sonic and Silver.
All right, man. I guess.
This is also the first 3D Sonic game to use the S rank. By the way, a lot of modern Sonic does take from Sonic 06. I kind of have to point that out.
Insane.
First 3D Sonic game to use the S rank. Maybe the first Sonic game with an official Russian translation, as we just recently learned, according to the leaked all script.
That's crazy, by the way.
Sonic 06 was also available on the 360 digital storefront from 2009, but was delisted the next year, along with a swath of other Sonic games to, quote, increase the value of the franchise, according to Sega. Lol, Lamau. We all remember those of us back in the day, the great sweep of Sonic, as we called it.
Yeah, where they tried to clean the franchise's image up, made Colors, which was relatively well received, made Gens, which was relatively well received, and then committed to making the most abysmal dog shit anybody had ever seen for nearly a decade. And then they made Frontiers, which was all right. It's like,
mama. Well, if you remove the PS3 disc while the game is still loading, the game will still continue to load, but the music will not play. And the results clear jingle would be reused from this game for Sonic's victory theme in each of his appearances in the Smash Bros. Series. And I like to think Sakurai just has a sick sense of humor about this.
Oh, I bet you he does. I bet you that blue rat makes him laugh.
Speaking of laughs, when Izuka was asked about the inconsistencies between Blaze's role here and in Rush, he said no one remembered Blaze because everyone had amnesia. I love Izuka's bullshitting, man. It's fucking good.
Bro said, I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. Leave me alone.
I mean, honestly, look, my favorite bullshitting of his is the moon and, like, how it doesn't appear broken anymore, and then some motherfucker did the math and just be like, no, he's right, the moon actually would rotate with enough force if it was blown up like that.
Jesus Christ. Okay, man. Alright, I guess. Anyways, the last little note we have here is that this is the last 3D Sonic game to have Tails, Knuckles, and Amy playable until Final Horizons. And that's our general document. Oh my god, it took us 3 hours and nearly 20 minutes to talk about everything. We are technically at the end of the video, but we're not done yet. Let's ask a real question now. Why does this game have revisionism? Because I am somebody who is generally, I am harsh, but I can tell when a game is trying, and I can tell when a product has something behind it. Sonic 06 is not a game that really has that IMO. I think that fundamentally, Sonic 06 is a game that is born from the developers struggling and trying to make something out of an insanely fucked deadline and not having the ability to really do so. But we have a wave of people now basically saying that everyone's wrong about Sonic 06 and the game is actually good. If you want my take on it, it's because you played it as a kid and you're nostalgic for it, but you can't acknowledge what the game actually is. And you're being a chud. But that's just me. That's just little old me, right? But what's happened as a result is that now we have this level of revisionism around 06 that is, I think, detrimental to the franchise. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, it was better when people were just using Sonic 06 as the beating stick for everything, because honestly, no. It's not better when Sonic 06 is the beating stick for everything. Absolutely not. Are you kidding me? But 06 serves as an important reminder of where this franchise was at one point. And frankly, could still be buried in the fucking ground. Frontiers was a last hurrah, a final attempt to get the game and the series back into public relevance, and it worked. But if you really want to know why we got almost a decade of the most boring video games known to man after generations, it's really simple. This game. And anybody who says otherwise doesn't really know what they're talking about. Sonic had become a laughingstock in the late 2000s thanks to YouTube. Sonic 06 was a big part of that. People would display this game as a badge of honor of how awful Sonic the Hedgehog was as a franchise. So why are we talking about it like it's this masterpiece, this unsung masterpiece, when it's the same fucking shit game that it's always been deep down? When was the last time any of you actually played Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 on hardware? Because I just did it. And I can certainly say that my opinion about the game has only dropped since playing it again. I used to be a little bit more fair to it, but I still think, I actually think it's worse than the first time I played it. It's not, in my opinion, it's still not the worst Sonic game. That actually goes to, Secret Rings. But that's for an entirely different reason that has nothing to do with the game's story, graphics, characters, music, any of that. It has to do entirely with the gameplay. But we're going to talk about that when we do the Secret Rings video. The revisionism frustrates me because I've been around online for so long at this point, and watching people reverse the fucking narrative on themselves and telling yourself, no, it was a great game all along, when you have only ever played Project 06 and you've never actually engaged with the video game at large, and you're watching YouTubers talk about how Sonic 06 is an underrated masterpiece. Dog, like, be so for real right now. Reality, hello, wake the fuck up, man. If you like this game, that's okay. If you love this game, that's okay. Be real about the thing that you love. Because if you can't be real, you don't know what the fuck you're on about. And you're just dick riding for the sake of dick riding.
I have seen a lot of talk on Twitter, especially recently, talking about how, like, you know what? How come there aren't more franchises that have their own Sonic 06, quote unquote? You know, this horrible bad game that, like, talks so poorly about in the franchise like it's a pariah. I'm going to tell you the reason. There are franchises that have their own Sonic 06. The reason why you don't hear about them anymore is because those franchises don't exist anymore.
Yep. A lot of those franchises completely fucking died out. Or a lot of those franchises got lucky and had those games swept under the rug. Or the rest of the franchise is so strong or has enough entries in them that they're able to basically swipe that game under the rug and pretend like it doesn't exist. I mean, bro, Mega Man had X6 and X7 back to back.
Mega Man X6 and X7. What was that one Ratchet and Clank PSP game?
That game wasn't that bad. Size Matters is fine. It's not horrible.
Yeah, but like in comparison to the rest of the series, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean, what I'm trying to say here is that franchises do have their own Sonic 06. It's just that they get swept under the rug and attention's just not put on them. But here's the thing that's about Sonic, and I can turn this around to a nice, beautiful message, okay, guys? Sonic the Hedgehog, as a franchise, is genuinely so strong. Yeah, Sonic 06 was not swept under the rug. It overcame its shortcomings and came and powered on through. And we had great games that came out immediately after it, like Sonic Unleashed, for example. It took time to get back to that position, but they were able to get back to the position. However, unfortunately, that momentum did not carry on. Yes, Colors happened and it was great. Yes, Generations happened and that was great. But that also then led us to a decade's worth of games that were at best middling and at worst 06 tier in their own rights.
Well, I would say less 06 tier in their own right and more infuriating. Because, alright, I'm also going to say some other shit. Unleashed is a pretty damn good game, but its reception on release was tainted by Sonic 06. Because Sonic had become such a laughingstock online because of 06 that people basically didn't give him the time of day. It didn't matter how the game actually played, it was Sonic the Hedgehog, aka I can laugh at Sonic because Sonic funny, haha, it's taking itself seriously, it's trying so hard, look at Sonic 06, guys, look how bad this game is, look how shit this franchise is, etc, 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 right? And it just continued on and on and on, and even when Sega tried their fucking hardest to appeal to people who didn't actually care about our franchise, well, not our franchise, but the franchise, it's like nobody cared, nobody gave a shit. You want to know why? Because they never liked Sonic to fucking begin with, and they were just using it as a beating stick. That's what Sonic 06 is. And the more that you think about it, and the more that you consider that Sonic 06 was essentially deliberately this whole thing that caused this franchise to fall into a near decade of disrepair, where they never tried anything because they were so afraid of public backlash, and poor review scores, and bad sales. What's the point? Why do we spend all this time revising history when in reality we can just be honest and say this game is not good? It had a lot of cool stuff in it and it had potential, but its overall product was very poorly designed and very poorly made.
And it led to what we, as like us growing up in this franchise and us, you know, following the series as it did, we refer to the 2010s as the Dark Ages for a reason. Because not even the people who are paid to promote the series took it seriously during that time either. That's a whole other story in and of itself. But the fact remains, all of that can be pointed back to Sonic 06. and the poor decisions that were made to really. And it's like I said in the beginning, in a just world, in an honest world, the executives that I assume are still there at Sega, who were probably responsible for rushing the team to bring out this game on release, they should be ashamed of themselves. It should be a mark of shame, and they should say to themselves, look, when we rush them, this is what happens. When we give them too little constraints, when we deliberately mess with their intended vision, the result is Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. And we, who work at this company, have a responsibility to ensure that that never happens again. But they did not learn that lesson, and they still haven't learned that lesson. It took Iizuka to be elevated to a director status to make sure that we can have at least 7 out of 10 minimum fucking games here. Sega is Sonic's worst enemy at this point. We know this, we understand this, but the reason why that's the case is because of Sonic 06. No amount of ifs, ands, or buts can make this game objectively good. It's not possible. I'm sorry. You like it? Yeah. Great. You love it? Great. I'm with you there. I really am. But don't try to tell me that the game is good, because it's not.
It's not. And we're tired of having to hear about it. I guess closing thoughts. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 is a game that exists and will continue to exist forever. There are things about it that we can talk about for ages. I can talk forever about how bad the gameplay is. I can talk forever about how weird the story is. I can talk forever about all this stuff. But at a certain point, discussing Sonic 06 is exhausting. I am exhausted. We've been going for 3.5 hours. I am very tired of talking about Sonic 06. And honestly, I don't think I'm really going to be talking about it much more in the future, because I feel like I've kind of gotten everything I've wanted to out of this game and everything related to it. Maybe in another decade. But we do technically have one more thing to talk about with 06, but we're going to be saving that for a bonus episode about Project 06. More specifically, talking about how that game re-envisions the idea of Project 06 into something else. To close, I want to talk about this quote that came out, was it a year or two ago? It was from Iizuka, and it was talking about remakes and game remakes and ideas for game remakes. And one thing that they really said was that they don't really want to do remakes over at Sonic Team, which is actually something I completely support. We don't need remakes of games anymore. There's too many that exist already. I would rather them work on new projects. But Iizuka did make mention of one thing, and that is, if they were to ever remake a game, they would consider Sonic 06. And in my mind, there is no game that deserves that remake more than 06. Why? Because I feel like the corpse of Sonic 06 being reborn from the ashes, given a whole new life, and show the world that you can take your greatest mistake, your most publicly embarrassing flaw, and rebirthing it in a beautiful Phoenix-like resurrection to show how far Sonic Team has come, I think would be really poetic. I don't know if it will ever happen. I don't think it will ever happen. But in my heart of hearts, if Sonic Team were going to remake a game, 06 should and can be the only one they should ever do.
Nakamura, the director of the game, has shared that sentiment pretty well, and I do agree with you there. The thing is that with a potential remake of Sonic 06, it has to be a true and genuine bottom-up remake. And I'm talking rewrite the story. I'm talking reprogram the game itself. I'm talking bring all of the intended features into the game. All the gems that were supposed to be included. The mission mode. Metal Sonic playable. Everything that was on the cutting room floor has to be in the remake. And that's a level of ambition that I think Sonic Team has, and I think the way they stand today, I think it could be done. But they really need the time and effort to do it. And I think we need a bit more time until we can get there.
I don't expect this remake to ever happen, if it ever does happen. But the only way I think that the Sonic 06 remake is acceptable, IMO, is that it's like you said. The story needs to be completely rewritten. You use the base skeleton ideas, but you completely rewrite it top to bottom. You have to actually deliver on the idea of Adventure 3. You need to keep certain elements that people actually like about 06. IMO, the Skeleton of Shadow story, is strong enough on its own to keep. But everything else has to be worked up from the ground up. There's so much of this game that has to be redone and reworked. We don't even know if we'll ever see it. But hey, I know one thing's for sure. This game, people are never going to shut the fuck up about it. We're going to have to keep hearing about it for the rest of our lives. No matter how good Sonic the Hedgehog is, it'll never go away. And when a game that bad is a stain on your franchise and people will never shut the fuck up about it, that's how you know you made something, for better or worse. Well, it's something. It's something, man. It's something. Alberto, you got any more closing thoughts before we head out?
If.
Meet potential game. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you for listening to us ramble for 3.5 hours. We care about this franchise a lot. When we talk about this, we talk about it from a place of passion. Again, if you like this game, that's okay. If you love this game, that's okay. But sometimes you got to be honest about the things you love. And that's part of life, and that's part of growing up.
It's true, folks. And while our episodes for the Sonic Talk Show can be a bit on the shorter side, we do go the extra mile for the games that do genuinely need to have that look in. And I think there is one more game that we're going to be doing this extra long length episode for. And it's not going to be the game you expect, because we're not going to be necessarily talking about the game itself, more so what the game represented for the potential futures, the divergent paths the Sonic series could have followed with the result and the reception for that game had. We're not going to get into it here. We'll get to it when we get to it. Probably be a long time before we get to it. That aside, thank you all so much for listening. Thanks for following along with us all this time. Thank you for listening to the Sonic Talk Show. But before we go, we got to do some Patreon shoutouts. We got new patrons who joined us in the meantime, and what a great time to join, let me tell you guys. So first, I want to shout out new $5 Patreon Crashums, who old heads of the show remember, one of the first hosts. He's on board. Thank you so much, buddy. And not only he's joined, also shout out to Nick Locke, who has joined at $15 a month. A whopper Patreon has joined us. Again, no better time to join us than now.
Content. Even with my fucking crazy ass schedule. Content.
$2 a month. $2 a month is our basic entry tier for the Patreon. And for that, you get all the episodes early, plus our bonus show where we have been reacting to the Sonic TV shows, read the older Sonic comics, some extra stuff here and there. We're almost done with Sonic X, believe it or not. And let me tell you guys, if you guys are not members of the Patreon, go join now. The last episodes we watched were fucking insane.
Insane! We went from to okay.
Cosmic body horror. Oh, I didn't know Sonic could do that.
All right, I guess.
Yeah. So that's what you get for $2 a month. For $5 a month at Crash's tier, you get all that plus our pre/post show. And the post show for this one is also going to be fucking nutty, boys. We got a lot to talk about there, and we'll see you there in a bit. And that's what you get for $5 a month. $15 a month is all that, plus a video version of the podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. On top of that, you get a free 7-day trial across all our tiers at patreon.com/SonicSpeed. Go check us out, folks. Go check out what's behind the paywall. I promise you, it's very much worth your money. And let me tell you guys something. Over 200 pieces of bonus content released in the past, 5 years we've been doing these projects, man. All for $2 a month. Literally the best $2 of value you will ever spend. I promise you.
Alberto, I can't lie. I love the energy you're giving right now, man. You're really going all in on the salesman pitch. Listen, man, it's chill. I get it. I respect it. Y'all should join the Patreon. It's a good time. You give this man your money. He deserves it.
Give this man your money too. He gets a cut, of course.
He's helped me out more times than I could care to admit, and he's been a great friend the whole way through over the past couple of years. What? We're going on
6
years. No, I'm talking about our friendship. We've known each other since we're 14.
15, yeah, about that time.
Like that,
we got to do a little bonus eepisode talking about our lore, man. What the hell are we doing?
Yeah, honestly, the lore would be really funny. I feel like a lore
the Unk lore episode goes crazy.
Yeah, the unction. We could literally call it the unction, bro. It'd be great. One last thing to mention before we go. I do want to say, I think that if you feel a specific way about how we have talked about Sonic 06, I would highly recommend looking into finding a way to play it. Not PS6, of course. If you can try and find a way to play it on official hardware, I would highly recommend doing so in order to gain some perspective. This is a kind of game where I very much recommend that hardware perspective. This is not a game that emulating it is really going to do you much good because you'll get a more stable experience on average. I feel like you really should commit yourself to try and play it on hardware. Oh, also, what games are we covering next?
Well, what's immediately next on the docket is, you can think of it as the other half of Sonic 06. The breakaway project of Sonic 06.
Man! Oh, brother!
Folks, what happened to the Wii version of Sonic 06, you may ask? Well, as we mentioned at the top of the show, the Wii could not run Sonic 06, because dear fucking God, the Wii is just two GameCubes slapped together. It could not run that fucking game. So what did they do? They opted to make a whole new project altogether. The first of two games in a series that they really should revise, in my opinion. The first of the storybook series, Sonic and the Secret Rings.
Make Believes Reborn!
Myths and mind rethought. See you guys.